Chapter 1135. If a foundation establishment cultivator were to fly without rest, it would take several days to cross this continent. But for an early-stage golden core cultivator, it would only take a day. And for the sect master of the Xianxia sect, who had reached the perfected golden core level and mastered many teleportation secret techniques, it would only take a few hours. Or even less. To her, this world was like a small city. No, it was just a small community. Thousands of years would confine a person to a small community. Time would be extremely long, space would be narrow, and life would be extremely boring. It was no different from being in jail. She would probably go crazy from holding it in. Crazy. The spirit chi in this world is still too thin and the resources are too scarce. The bald elder sighed. In the thousands of years of recorded history, only 3 people reached the nascent soul level. None of them reached the nascent soul level, let alone the soul formation level. His face turned cold and he said solemnly, "The soul formation level is as difficult as ascending to the sky. If you want to reach the soul formation level, there's only one way. Gather the golden cores of 10,000 people and swallow them by force." His eyes were extremely firm as he said coldly, "You have to wipe out the fire worship sect, Golden Rock Temple, Hahuan sect, and Tingyu Tower. You need the blood of 10,000 or 100,000 foundation establishment cultivators." "I understand." Ming Rui nodded calmly. "Rui, even if you have to die, you have to poke a hole in the sky. Why do we, the ancient Indians, have to live in this dark world?" The bald elder called her by her name and said coldly, "When you reach the soul formation level, you'll be able to shake the gate of creation, tear open the sky, and step on the ancient path of the stars to reach the outside world. If you have the chance, you'll create a passage and lead our descendants out to a wider world." "I won't forget this oath." Ming Rui's face was solemn. "Then let's fight." A trace of determination flashed across the bald elder's face as he said emotionally, "The old man was a monk in Golden Rock Temple for 3 years and learned the 5 thunders heaven-shaking bell, combining thunder arts and fist arts." His figure moved and he threw out a punch. Suddenly, a sound like a huge bell rang out. Lightning as thick as an arm circled around his body and gushed out, forming a large lightning bell that vibrated along with his fist. "All right." Ming Rui bowed deeply and meticulously. By the time she raised her head, her face was already filled with killing intent. Her figure flashed forward, and she used the dipper step. She punched out with her fist, and her chi weapon condensed, breaking the lightning bell. The two immediately engaged in battle. The bald elder opened and closed, his fists and feet were incomparably ferocious and efficient. Any of his punches would cause a huge bell to vibrate like a blooming morning glory, blasting out with endless power. With a sweep of his palm, the golden bell would spin and roll out. With a punch, the lightning bell would descend from the sky, wanting to envelop Ming Rui. Each of his punches and kicks was like a thunderbolt, as heavy as a mountain. They were comparable to nuclear explosions and had the power to contend against modern armies. Kill. Ming Rui didn't hold back in the slightest as well. She executed her divine abilities and techniques, causing her figure to be graceful like a dragon and graceful like a graceful swan. Her primordial chi burst out, and her long sword would sweep across the sky, and the wind from her fists would surge. She broke the bell again and again, causing earth-shattering explosions. In less than 10 minutes, the Xianxia sect's hierarch, Ming Rui, swung her sword. Waves of blood gushed out as the bald elder's bald head flew up and then fell with his body. His eyes were wide open, and his face was filled with surprise. He praised, "Hierarch, your cultivation technique is almost at phenomenal success. Good sword technique, good sword technique. I'll take the golden core." The Xianxia sect's hierarch's eyes were cold and emotionless. He stabilized the corpse with his primordial chi and took out the blood-stained golden core. The corpse fell to the ground. Take it, good sword technique." The bald elder praised repeatedly. Finally, his head fell to the ground, splashing blood. He slowly closed his eyes, his expression peaceful. Feng Nuishan, Shou Ruhai, and the other guest elders didn't move. The remaining 6 elders stood up together. Hierarch, pick one. The leader was a skinny elder. He looked solemn, but there were flames dancing in his eyes. He was full of the passion of a martyr. Today, we are going to sacrifice ourselves and burn our cultivation bases to help the sect leader ascend to the heavens. Each of the 6 elders had learned something. They were very strict and powerful. They were all in the late Golden Core realm. There were even 2 in the 9th level of the Golden Core realm. If they went to Earth together and performed their divine powers, they would be able to dominate the entire world in less than a month. Let's fight together. Ming Rui raised her chin when she sensed the powerful auras. Not only was she not afraid at all, her aura rose steadily and shot into the sky. The ghastly and piercingly cold killing intent, the high and unyielding battle intent, and the vast and surging true essence imposing aura swept out in all directions like a tempestuous wave, and it suppressed the entire scene and caused one's heart to palpitate. After hearing what she said, everyone went silent. Everyone was dumbfounded and their eyes almost popped out. The hierarch was also a peak-stage Golden Core cultivator, but she was going to challenge 6 overlords at the same time. How was that different from asking for death? Only Jiang Tian's expression was calm, as he understood in his heart. The hierarch of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, had a mid-grade Golden Core and the elders who challenged her were all inferior-grade Golden Core cultivators. Even though they were at the same level, their power was still on the same level as hers. Nobody would be able to force out the potential of the hierarch of the Changshan sect and let her reach the ultimate level in a battle. That way, Ming Rui wouldn't be able to take the opportunity to devour a lot of food and golden cores to reach the nascent soul level. Together, when the 6 elders heard this, they also looked at each other in shock. No one moved, nor did they say anything. Then, they all looked at the white-bearded great elder. The white-bearded great elder muttered to himself with his eyes closed. His fingers moved quickly as if he was calculating something. After a while, he opened his eyes and sighed. Let's fight together. This is our only chance. The 6 elders responded respectfully. Then, they shot out at lightning speed and attacked the hierarch of the Changshan sect mercilessly. Bring the food here, the Grand Elder said and looked at a hall master who was in charge of logistics. The hall master lowered his head respectfully and passed down the order. Immediately, the food that had been waiting at the foot of the mountain was sent to the square by the overlords with divine powers and arrays. This great battle was simply earth-shattering. Flames pierced through the sky, soared light crisscrossed, fire phoenixes let out long cries, and giant dragons circled. Sometimes, ice would seal the heaven and earth, and sometimes, arrows would shoot out like a torrential downpour. Round after round of explosions erupted continuously, drowning the entire square, as if hell had descended. The level of the battle was too high that day. Overlords below the Golden Core level couldn't see their moves and figures at all. Streams of colorful air currents and light pillars shot up into the sky and down into the ground. They crisscrossed, collided, rubbed against each other, and exploded. If one were to forcibly watch it, they would immediately be shaken by the rapidly changing scenes, and their minds would be shaken, causing them to feel dizzy. Many people felt extremely uncomfortable. They opened their mouths and vomited. The hall masters immediately ordered them to close their eyes and not force themselves to watch. At this moment, even the Supreme Elder could not withstand the violent pressure. His face revealed a hint of terror as his figure flashed and he escaped from the square. Waves after waves of terrifying shockwaves swept over like raging waves crashing onto the shore, destroying everything in their path and shaking the heavens and earth. The protective shield of the audience seats cracked a few times, and the violent shock waves immediately swept out, creating huge gullies on the ground. The disciples were blown off their feet and the earth shook. Boom, boom, boom. Many arrays were activated under the ground. Colorful light shields appeared one after another and covered the center of the battle. Even so, many early-stage Foundation establishment disciples couldn't withstand it. Their faces turned pale and their bodies trembled violently. Some even passed out. Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changshan sect, was fighting against the 6 elders alone, but she wasn't at a disadvantage at all. Her graceful body had the power to destroy the world. Every move she made shook the earth and destroyed the dimension. Powerful. Too powerful. Ming Rui is really a talented person. From now on, I'll be her personal disciple. Crown Prince Jihan was dizzy. His face was full of admiration and yearning. He was extremely excited. He had always thought of himself as a genius, but after seeing Ming Rui, he realized that there was always someone better than him. Sect Master was indeed the Sect Master. Kill. Suddenly, Ming Rui raised her eyebrows and shouted. Her eyes were cold as if they were demonic. She stepped out. Flaming chains shot out from the void under her feet. They clanged and crossed the void, piercing toward the few people. Sect Master, you're still too weak. You shouldn't be so weak with your strength and cultivation base. An 8th-level Golden Core Elder shouted and punched with a divine power. Behind him, the avatar of a 1,000-hand demon formed. It was 100 feet tall and made of lava. Thousands of long arms with black smoke waved and grabbed the chains, tearing them to pieces. Swords slashing 1,000 mountains. Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changshan sect, looked calm. She spun around and waved her fingers. A 1,000-meter sharp sword aura formed. It seemed to be able to sweep across the world and destroy the 1,000-hand demon. Gradually, the 6 elders' attacks became more and more intense. The sect master of the Changshan sect was at a disadvantage. If you can't form the nascent soul, what's the point of having you? Kill you all. An elder's beard and hair fluttered in the wind. He raised his hand and used his vast true energy to stabilize the sect master's body. Then he roared like rolling thunder. Kill. Another elder's eyes were filled with killing intent. He formed the image of a hurricane spirit and countless black wind arrows shot toward Ming Rui. Chapter 1136. Poof poof poof. Suddenly, bloody holes appeared on Ming Rui's body and blood gushed out. That was the blood of a perfected Golden Core Overlord. A drop of it could kill a Foundation Establishment cultivator, but she had lost so much blood. Some of the wounds were even terrifying. They went through her body and her translucent bones were exposed. Well, you've really made me angry. Ming Rui roared towards the sky, the veins on her jade white neck clearly bulging. Her delicate shout was like tearing silk, piercing through the clouds and splitting the sky. She unleashed her essence chi and threw a punch. The air trembled and the wind from her fist broke the illusion of the hurricane divine spirit. Blood body exchanging divine art. The sect master of the Changshan sect's crown fell and her hair fluttered like a waterfall. She shouted again with a cold face. Immediately, her Dantian field was empty and pitch black. A vast hurricane was pouring into her empty Dandan. This hurricane simply had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. The sky was pitch black and gloomy. Dark clouds covered the sky and rolled about incessantly. The hurricane quickly enveloped the people standing around the square. Beads of blood began to ooze out of the blood food like beads of sweat. On the other hand, their countenances gradually turned pale while their skin withered and shriveled, and their expressions were hideous and painful. They grimaced in pain while their entire bodies trembled, and they seemed to be enduring extraordinary pain. However, they didn't resist at all. Instead, they formed a strange hand seal and murmured, "What joy is there in life? What pain is there in death? Gather my broken body and let my blood flow. Sublimate my life and become immortal. Be fearless, and live forever." Blood filled the sky and extended to the sky. Many small streams quickly gathered into a stream, which then became a flood. In the blink of an eye, the blood surged towards the sect master of the Changshan sect like a red river. In a blink, all the blood of 10,000 people was sucked out. Those people immediately turned into dried corpses and fell to the ground. But even before they died, they still maintained a peaceful and even joyful expression, as if dying like this was a kind of fortune and blessing. They were even laughing when they died. Lunatics! Lunatics! The power of faith is really terrifying. Seeing this, Lady Wu Yikaran and Tang Linglong were shocked and could not believe it. The Changshan sect has absorbed many doctrines. The doctrine of reincarnation is the core of the Changshan sect, and it is also the most deeply rooted in the hearts of the believers. Fairy Luo Mei explained. All the hardships in this life are to atone for the sins of my previous life. The more hardships I endure in this life, the more blessings I will receive in my next life. They care about the past and the next life, but they pay the least attention to reality and the present. They even think that the more miserable the present is, the happier the next life will be. Therefore, many people don't do anything productive and only indulge in ascetic practice. Then won't this civilization collapse? Even a cultivator needs the support of a secular civilization. Tang Linglong frowned. Cultivation here has reached the end of the road. The resources and the potential of the cultivation arts have been exploited to the limit, but it's impossible to form the nascent soul, let alone reach the soul formation stage. Nobody can transcend this world. As time went by, the leaders of the longevity denomination fell into despair. After various experiments, they believed that the method of devouring blood essence could help them break through the barrier, Fairy Luo Mei explained. In the sky, the blood wrapped around the sect master of the longevity denomination like silk. She stood in the air and her wounds healed at a visible speed. Her skin became smoother, redder, and more beautiful. Her energy also rose. When the blood flow was completely absorbed by her, her aura had already reached an unimaginable height. She used her cultivation technique. Rumble. She raised her eyebrows and threw a punch. Suddenly, true essence exploded, sending one of the elders flying. His body exploded, and his golden core flew out. She's really using the flesh of living people as resources to increase her cultivation. I can't believe there's such an evil cultivation art in the world. Li Wuji's eyes were opened. Yi Karen and the martial demon lady's expressions changed drastically. They were shocked and couldn't believe it. They could clearly feel that the sect master of the longevity denomination's strength and energy had reached a new level. Her energy seemed to be able to crush this continent. Blood-body transformation, blood-body transformation. This is blood-body transformation. Born from blood, changing the physique, condensing the divine embryo, supreme divine ability. It feels great to have power. At this moment, Ming Rui, the sect leader of the longevity sect, exuded a strong demonic aura. His eyes were fierce and cold as he roared at the sky. It was as if tens of thousands of women were roaring at the same time. She seemed to have gone crazy. She used a few cultivation arts and an enormous devouring force was formed. Boom, boom. The golden cores of the three elders who had died shattered and turned into pure energy that flowed into her dark dantian. Their blood was also absorbed. Kill. The woman's energy surged again. Her murderous aura surged into the sky. She was as graceful as a startled swan. She quickly rushed into the group of remaining elders and began a massacre. Every punch and kick seemed to be able to destroy the world. Only the sound of explosions could be heard incessantly. The remaining elders exploded one after another. None of them were able to withstand a single blow. At this moment, her strength had already suppressed all golden core cultivators. She killed almost one person with each step. Every time she attacked, an elder would die and their golden cores would be snatched away. Ming Rui sublimated to the extreme. As she fought, she continuously used cultivation arts to devour the golden cores of the dead elders. She didn't even let go of their remnant souls to strengthen her mental power. After 7 flicks of the fingers, she devoured another 30,000 people. After 8 flicks of the fingers, she killed 2 9th-level golden core elders on the spot and devoured their golden cores, blood essence, and divine souls. In the sky, rivers of blood flowed, each of which was a few thousand meters long. They wriggled and rolled endlessly. Dense blood chi soared into the sky like smoke and mist. It even covered the sun. Tens of thousands of corpses were floating around the square. They were all skin and bones, like dried corpses. It was a tragic scene. Blood chi surged and a cold wind blew. There seemed to be ghosts crying and wailing, making the place look like hell. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. It had never happened before that a sect master had defeated all 8 sect elders in a one-on-one battle. Ming Rui devoured the blood essence of many golden cores and tens of thousands of people. She would probably reach the nascent soul level or even higher. No one in the Changshan sect has this kind of combat power in the 5,000 years of its establishment and the 500 years of its prosperity. Many hall masters and disciples were deeply shocked. Crown Prince Jihan was so excited that his body trembled as if he had seen a true god. Even the Supreme Elder was moved and shocked. His expression of gratification and admiration was extremely strong. This woman was bathed in a sea of blood. Her eyes were slightly closed as she kept devouring. Her dantian became more and more full. As she absorbed the blood essence, Ming Rui's cultivation kept rising. Her body shook and her dantian kept rumbling. Vast true essence surged. Bang, bang, bang. The violent qi and blood continuously broke through many shackles, forming a huge qi pillar and cyclone that was more than 3,000 meters tall and hundreds of meters wide. An incomparably vast aura spread out, suppressing everyone until their bones creaked and their hearts almost jumped out of their throats. They couldn't bear it anymore. Good, good, good. Our sect master has formed a superior-grade golden core and reached the nascent soul level. This is the fortune of the Changshan sect. This is the fortune of the North region. The white-bearded Grand Elder checked with his immortal will and calculated the woman's cultivation level. Suddenly, his face changed and he was so excited that his body trembled and tears rolled down his cheeks. A superior-grade golden core would not only make a cultivator's combat power stronger than other cultivators, but it would also affect their cultivation progress and greatly increase their chances of breaking through to the nascent soul level or even the soul formation level. For example, a golden core was like the engine of a cultivator's power, a superior-grade golden core was like the engine of a supercar, and a middle-grade golden core was like the engine of a farm tricycle. Of course, a superior-grade golden core was not the most powerful. There were even rarer golden cores above it: supreme-grade, sacred-grade, and deity-grade golden cores. Sacred-grade golden cores were already very rare. Once refined, one could control an unparalleled sect in the central galaxy deep in the universe. As for the immortal-grade golden core, it was a legendary existence. It was said that in the cultivation world, in the vast universe, there might not even be one in thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Forming the nascent soul was the intermediate state between the golden core level and the nascent soul level. The transformation of the golden core into the embryonic form of the nascent soul level was also an important step. She was only one step away from entering the real nascent soul level. The only thing left was time and resources. Even though there was still a huge gap between the nascent soul level and the soul formation level. But Ming Rui was able to take that crucial step, which made him see the dawn of victory. There was hope for him to tear open the gate of creation and break free from the prison of the world. After that, there was an uproar below the stage. Tens of thousands of people were shocked. It was as if cold water had been added to a pot of hot oil. Chapter 1137. May the sect master live for 10,000 years and enjoy eternal happiness. Congratulations to the sect master for forming a superior-grade golden core and entering the nascent soul level. From now on, you will break free from the shackles and surpass this world. Countless hall masters and disciples knelt on the ground and worshipped her with reverence in their eyes, as if they were facing a true god. When the last drop of essence blood was absorbed, the murderous and ferocious look on the woman's face also faded away. Her skin had become as white as jade, and her temperament had become ethereal and otherworldly, but there was an additional sense of beauty. From the outside, this woman's body did not seem to have changed at all. It was still as graceful and exquisite as before. However, everyone felt that there was a primordial divine beast that could destroy this world lying dormant inside. It wasn't an illusion. It was the result of the increase of her level. At this time, she had already used a secret art to refine the golden cores of the 8 elders and the essence blood of tens of thousands of people. Using them as resources, she had greatly improved the quality of her golden core and her cultivation level. Legend had it that a nascent soul-level cultivator with a superior-grade golden core was as powerful as a first-level nascent soul-level overlord. It wasn't boasting when they announced that the Changshan sect had a nascent soul-level overlord. It's the first time in 5,000 years that the Changshan sect has a nascent soul-level overlord. Someone exclaimed and trembled with tears in his eyes. The senior members of the Changshan sect had reached a consensus. Only by using the flesh and blood altar as resources could one person break free from the shackles of this world and step onto the ancient path of the stars to enter a new world. Many believers competed fairly regardless of their background, cultivation arts, and status. The strong ones ascended to the sky and the weak ones died and became flesh and blood resources. The flesh and blood of tens of thousands of people were given to one person. It was a tragic sacrifice. Her attitude was resolute and resolute. She had a demeanor that said that she would only survive if she didn't go crazy. A nascent soul-level overlord. Our sect master is invincible. There's no one stronger than you. Only this mountain is taller. Our sect master is invincible. Long live Master Ming Rui. The Crown Prince of Jihan was extremely excited. He waved his arms and shouted hysterically. Our sect master is invincible in the world. Tears streamed down the faces of countless people in the crowd as they prostrated themselves in worship. Their eyes were filled with extreme fanaticism as if they had gone mad. Sect master, you are indeed worthy of being the most talented and bold sect master since the founding of our sect 5,000 years ago. You have suppressed the world and illuminated the ages. The white-bearded Grand Supreme Elder's eyes were fixed on the longevity sect master as he made the most colorful comment. The patriarch of the longevity sect, Ming Rui, also wore a proud and joyful expression. Her back was ramrod straight, and she stood proudly in the air like a goddess, enjoying the worship of tens of thousands of believers. At the same time, with a few flicks of the Supreme Elder's fingers, the array was activated. One after another, flashing nameplates appeared in the air, constantly flying and assembling. Immediately, new elders and hall masters were created according to their combat strength. In the blink of an eye, they completed a replacement that was especially troublesome for other sects. But at this moment, a faint, slightly mocking voice echoed throughout the hall. You're just a nascent soul cultivator with a high-grade golden core. How dare you claim to be invincible? You're really a frog at the bottom of a well. You're so short-sighted, but you're so arrogant. Jiang Tian's voice wasn't loud, but he had used a secret art. His mighty voice sounded like the sound of the Tao, suppressing all the other noises. Immediately, the entire hall went silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it and thought they were hallucinating. The originally noisy noise seemed to have been absorbed by an invisible sponge in a blink of an eye. The disciples, hall masters, and elders all stood there in a daze, as if they were made of clay or wood carvings. Only a still image was left on the scene. Who is it? Who dares to offend the sect master? How dare he? A dark-faced hall master looked at Fan Luomei's seat angrily. His eyes were like lightning. How dare he provoke the sect master when he has just broken through and his cultivation art is at its peak? Does he want to die? The Crown Prince of Extreme Frost and the other 3 personal disciple candidates looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Then they gloated. I've got something on you. The Prince of Jihan was very excited. He immediately jumped up and pointed at Jiang Tian, gritting his teeth. Sect Master, this person is called Star Butcher. He's from the Yen Huang tribe. He has been disrespectful to the sect master many times. You should expel him from the sect. No, you should kill him on the spot. Seeing Ming Rui's sharp eyes looking over, Fan Luomei immediately lowered her head. Her face was pale, and she avoided her gaze. Her heart was in her mouth, and she was so frightened that she was trembling. You're crazy, Star Butcher. You're just a new disciple. How dare you offend the sect master? Mao Billion scolded in a low voice. She wailed in her heart. It's over. It's over. This person didn't know what was good for him. He provoked the sect master and would definitely incur the wrath of the sect master. Fairy Luomei and she would be implicated. She might not even be able to keep her position as an outer sect disciple. Didn't my sect encourage challenges? Jiang Tian stood up slowly and said, Anyone can challenge the sect master. Anyone can challenge the sect leader. Once they kill the sect leader, they can replace him. Why can't I? The 3 laws of longevity. That's the ancient way. The Grand Elder scrutinized Jiang Tian, and a look of disdain appeared in his eyes. A Foundation establishment brat dared to challenge the sect master. He was undoubtedly courting death. He cherished Jiang Tian as a talent. He shook his head and sighed. But you don't know. The rules have changed over the years. No hall master or inner sect disciple has succeeded in challenging the sect master. The difference is too great, and the losses are too great. He swung his sleeves and made the final decision. So you'd better not mess around. Save your strength. After 100 years, you might still have a chance. Star Butcher, if you want to challenge the sect master, you have to defeat a hall master first, and then defeat me, the guest elder. Come on. I believe you have the strength. Shou Rahai sneered. Feng Doshan's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he sneered maliciously. Originally, because Jiang Tian's position was too low, they didn't have the chance to attack Jiang Tian. They were scratching their hearts, but there was nothing they could do. But now, this Star Butcher was courting death. A Yen Huang tribe member is like an ant. He's not qualified to join our longevity sect. The black-faced hall master had just returned from afar and didn't know about Jiang Tian's valiant battle record. His face was filled with disdain, and then he scolded sternly. Lumei, how do you choose disciples? Longzhe, how do your guards check? Do you think the sect rules are a blank piece of paper? Get him out of here immediately. Yes, Hall Master Meng. Longzhe was so scared that he was trembling. He brought a pair of Foundation establishment stage guards and approached Jiang Tian. He kept winking at Jiang Tian and Fan Luomei and scolded loudly, Star Butcher, get out now. He had good intentions. Jiang Tian's identity as a Yen Huang tribe member had been exposed. Not killing Jiang Tian was already the longevity sect's mercy. Noisy. Hall Master Meng, is it? You're like an ant. I'm here to kill you. Jiang Tian pointed at the black-faced hall master and leaped out. His eyes were indifferent. And then I'll kill a few new elders. In your opinion, I'm qualified to challenge the sect leader, right? What did you say? Hall Master Meng was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. In his eyes, the Yen Huang tribe members were like weak insects. They couldn't withstand a single blow and didn't have any legacy. In any case, he was a dignified hall master of the Changxing sect. Even the emperor of a country would have to give him some face. But now, he was being ridiculed by Jiang Tian. How could he bear it? Have the Yen Huang tribe members always been so arrogant? You're just at the middle Foundation establishment stage, and you want to challenge the Golden Core Hall Master? Dream on. You're asking for death. There are no experts in the Yen Huang tribe. Perhaps he has never seen the power of a real Golden Core expert. As the saying goes, a frog at the bottom of a well can't talk about the sea. That's not right. He also saw Hall Master Meng attack. Hall Master Meng is a real Golden Core expert. The longevity sect was too big. There were 100,000 inner and outer sect disciples, and many had never heard of the name Star Butcher. They didn't know Jiang Tian's strength. Seeing Jiang Tian's arrogant words, they thought that Jiang Tian was crazy and unreasonable. Ignorant brat, full of arrogance. Let's see how arrogant you can be after I crush you with my foot. Hall Master Meng's eyes were arrogant and his face was cold. He soared into the sky and stomped down on Jiang Tian. He had the cultivation of a late Golden Core expert and was even stronger than Fairy Luo Mei. His move was earth-shattering. Rumble. Vital energy erupted from his right foot and transformed into a 100-meter-long foot that was as huge as a ship. It descended from the sky. The huge foot covered the sky and caused the ground of the square to tremble. It seemed like it could not only crush Jiang Tian, but also crush a mountain. Violent airflow swept across, and even the protective light shield of the audience was rippling violently. It seemed like it was about to be torn into pieces. Just as the foot was about to step on Jiang Tian's head, Li Wuji and the others were shocked and screamed. Suddenly, a flaming vital energy exploded under Hall Master Meng's foot like a volcanic eruption. This energy was vast and surging, and it was extremely violent. It had a temperature of 10,000 degrees, just like a nuclear explosion. Everyone watched in horror as the huge vital energy foot was smashed into pieces. Then a huge dragon-like flame rose from the ground. The flame dragon grew longer and longer, bearing its fangs and claws. Finally, it became 1,000 meters long and burned towards Hall Master Meng. Each flame could melt gold and iron. The clouds exploded, and the void cracked, distorted, and blurred. Hall Master Meng didn't expect that he would kick an iron plate. His body was instantly burned and cracked. He was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He screamed and retreated in the air. Chapter 1138. Isn't he a foundation establishment cultivator? How did he defeat a peak stage golden core cultivator? Yeah, he's only a foundation establishment cultivator, but there seems to be a golden core in his dantian. His true essence seems to be endless. How strange. How is that possible? Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. He's extraordinary. Her disciple can kill a golden core cultivator. He must be as powerful as her. However, those who had witnessed Tang Linglong killing a golden core cultivator suddenly realized what had happened. Even so, they were still shocked and their hearts were in turmoil. So powerful. The Prince of Jihan broke out in a cold sweat. He thought that he would have been burned to ashes if he were to fight Star Butcher. It should be noted that Hall Master Meng was an experienced cultivator at the middle stage of the Gold Core realm. Moreover, the quality of his cultivation method and vital essence were far superior to that of the Beast Python, Fairy Lon Dai, and Feng Ao. Go to hell. Jiang Tian clasped his hands behind his back. He didn't move at all. Only boundless flames spewed out from his dantian, seemingly endless. The flames refined the sky, incinerating the dome of heaven. HM? This is the energy of a superior grade, no, even a super-grade golden core. It seems to be inexhaustible. Does he have a divine-grade golden core? At this moment, even Ming Rui, who'd always had an indifferent expression, was visibly moved, and her eyes were filled with shock while her face was covered in disbelief. He hasn't formed a golden core in his dantian, but his energy is extremely powerful. It's 5 different kinds of energy: metal, wood, water, fire, and thunder. That's strange. The Grand Elder kept calculating with his fingers and sensed Jiang Tian's power. He became more and more serious. You want to crush me? Who gave you that confidence? Jiang Tian was bathed in fire and flew into the sky. In front of him, a red sparrow flew in the sky and breathed out endless flames. Each of its flames could burn a golden core cultivator to death. Beneath Jiang Tian's feet, the entire plaza released kacha-kacha noises, everything cracking apart, terrifying gorges appearing one after another. Many arrays were activated and rays of golden light shot out, trying to resist the heat and flames, but they seemed to be unable to withstand it. I don't believe it. How can a lowly commoner of Yan Huang be my match? Hall Master Meng's hair was charred and blisters appeared all over his body. He was flustered and exasperated. His dantian rumbled as if there was a primordial beast hibernating there. Immediately, boundless Yuan Qi transformed into a white hornless dragon that leaped out of his chest. It was hundreds of meters long. The white hornless dragon's jade-like scales exploded with a loud clang. Its vertical pupils flickered with a demonic and bloodthirsty aura. It was so cold that it looked like it was carved out of ice jade. It charged towards Jiang Tian. Although the white hornless dragon was formed from Yuan Qi, it was no different from the legendary ancient beasts. This was also a Dharma idol, but it was not formed naturally. The Changsheng sect had a variety of Dharma formulations. This was the Dharma idol he created by extracting the soul of a horned dragon, observing the remains and statues of the immemorial horned dragon, and injecting his true essence into the soul to simulate the horned dragon's charm. However, its power was enormous and could kill a golden core late-stage expert. Just as the Crown Prince of Extreme Frost, Shou Ruhai, and the others were nodding their heads and watching Jiang Tian fall, boom. The dragon and the sparrow collided with each other. It was as if 2 ancient beasts were fighting, releasing an earth-shattering energy. That terrifying fluctuation of aura shook the sky to the point of trembling, the earth to the point of undulating. The protective light barriers of the spectators were torn apart like paper, and the space between the two of them transformed into a deep and serene black hole. However, in the next moment, the white hornless dragon was torn into pieces and the yuan qi inside it exploded uncontrollably. Every true fire of the red sparrow turned into a fire sword. Thousands of fire swords pierced through the air and hit Hall Leader Meng. This is impossible. Hall Leader Meng was sent flying like a leaf in the wind. He was pierced by the fire swords and his blood stained the sky. Moreover, he had a special physique, which was the ice physique, which could suppress high-temperature flames to a certain extent. Otherwise, he would have been burned to ashes in a matter of seconds. How is this possible? This time, everyone was completely shocked. The Crown Prince of Extreme Frost's eyes almost popped out. The divine powers that Jiang Tian used were comparable to those of the top elders in the sect. However, these elders were all in the late Golden Core realm or veteran Golden Core realm. To be able to hold on for 3 seconds, you are indeed capable. Jiang Tian's face was cold. His eyes were filled with coldness as he pointed his finger. Instantly, countless flaming swords continued to gather, forming a 1-meter-long crimson sword that pierced through the air. Sect leader, save me. Grand Elder, Hall Leader Meng's eyes were filled with fear as he retreated frantically. However, it was too late. The true fire of the Red Sparrow was too fast and terrifying. In a flash, it had pierced into Hall Leader Meng's dantian. It's so hot. Hall Leader Meng's face was filled with unprecedented fear. His eyes bulged out and he looked as if they were about to burst. In the next moment, his body exploded. Broken bones and fresh blood splattered down along with the red flames. Even his golden core that was like an ice ball was burned to ashes. Nothing was left. The entire audience was shocked. Everyone's hearts were in a state of shock. They didn't dare to believe it. Where did this Yan Huang tribesman come from? He is so powerful. Countless people were tongue-tied and their eyeballs almost popped out. From the moment Hall Leader Meng attacked Jiang Tian to the moment he died, only a few seconds had passed. Jiang Tian had killed him in an instant. One had to know that it was impossible for a Foundation Establishment Cultivator, even a perfected Foundation Establishment Cultivator, to defeat a Golden Core Cultivator. Even if you had the support of a superior grade Dharma treasure, it wouldn't work. The difference in cultivation level was like a natural chasm. It was very difficult to make up for it with external forces like Dharma treasures. However, not only did Jiang Tian not use Dharma treasures, he even broke through the other party's Dharma treasure and Dharma treasure. It was simply too shocking. I wonder if I have the qualifications to challenge the sect leader or the elders? After keeping the true fire of the Red Sparrow back into his dantian, Jiang Tian stepped into the air. Every step he took caused ripples in the air. With his hands behind his back, he asked calmly, "Whoever wants to die, step forward. Or do you want to die together? Come at me together." This guy is so arrogant. He has no respect for anyone. I'll definitely kill him. Many of the new elders' faces turned cold. Their eyes were blazing with anger, as though they wanted to tear Jiang Tian to shreds. Although the Changsheng sect did not care about background, only strength. The strong were respected, but that was only among the ancient Tianzhu people. To the Yanhuang tribe, even if you were a genius, you were trash in their eyes. To the experts of the Yanhuang tribe, they had a common enemy. Everyone had the right to kill them without mercy. In their eyes, the Yanhuang tribe members were weak ants. They were despicable lowlifes, like beasts. They were not even qualified to be their slaves. Therefore, Jiang Tian's display of strength not only did not intimidate them, but also aroused their extreme hatred. However, Ming Rui and the Grand Elder were unmoved. They only frowned as they looked at Jiang Tian. No one knew what they were thinking. "Ignorant yellow-skinned monkey, I'll kill you." One of the new elders was so angry at Jiang Tian that his hair stood on end, piercing the heavens like sharp swords. Rumble! He stepped into the air and attacked Jiang Tian. He used a long saber, and the sharp saber light was like a silver river that swept through the air. This saber was extremely sharp. It was about 300 meters long and could cut through a mountain and dismember a huge warship. You're too weak. Jiang Tian waved his hand, using the gunmetal chi soldier to cut through the river of stars. Clang. Jiang Tian cut through the saber light and saber chi like a knife cutting through water. With a swish, a beam of golden light flashed in the sky. The elder had no time to dodge and was cut in two. His blood flowed like a river, and his corpse fell to the ground. One sword to cut down a Jindan. Sharp, unparalleled, domineering, overwhelming. This time, the shock was even more violent and thorough. It was as though the sun and moon had been turned upside down, and the world had been turned upside down. They were dizzy, and their minds were shaken. Many of the elders were shocked, their bodies trembling uneasily. The aura of gunmetal. Suddenly, the sect master of the Changshan sect realized something. Her eyes widened, and a smile appeared on her face. A Foundation establishment overlord can't be so powerful. He's either a fiend or an evil cultivator. A guest elder's expression changed drastically as he shouted, "What? We don't need to follow the rules of the sect to deal with this fiend. He's not a member of our sect. Let's attack together and kill him." That elder was Feng Baishan's grandfather, Feng Nushan. He hated that his grandson, Feng Badian, had been killed by Jiang Tian, so he had set his eyes on Jiang Tian. However, his level of attainment was too high. According to the rules of the sect, he couldn't trample on Jiang Tian. Since Jiang Tian had challenged him, he had no choice but to cut Jiang Tian into pieces. "Hi, you're shameless. Who is more evil than the Changshan sect?" Jiang Tian placed his hands behind his back and said mockingly, "You just want to attack me together. There's no need to find excuses. Just come at me together. You want to kill me and I want to kill all of you. Brat, you're so arrogant. As you wish. Let's kill him together." Shou Rahai's eyes were vicious. He stepped on a huge eagle and flew towards Su Quebec. Shou Rahai's aura was domineering and bloodthirsty like an ancient beast. With a wave of his hand, numerous beast souls broke through the air, blotting out the sky as they pounced towards Jiang Tian. "Count me in." Boom. Another guest elder had a fierce look in his eyes as he suddenly stomped the ground. Endless clouds and mist condensed into billowing waves that lifted him up. He walked on the waves, and the water around him turned into a few 100-meter-long giant dragons that circled around him. Then, they roared together and charged towards Jiang Tian. Shui Qianxing. He was at the great circle of the Jindan realm. Little monkey from the Yen Huang tribe must be killed. Otherwise, there will be endless trouble. A black-robed old man with a gloomy aura approached Jiang Tian with a skeletal staff in his hand. Guest Elder Guisha. He was once an evil cultivator who had dominated the northern region for hundreds of years. He had blood bonded with ghosts and demons and killed countless people. Later, he joined the Changshan sect and became a guest elder. His cultivation techniques were the best of many sects and his mystiques were unpredictable. His skeleton staff swung and grew in size. His spine was like a dragon and his head was like a millstone. He roared in the wind and spat out black fog and green light. The sinister aura filled the void for thousands of meters. He attacked Jiang Tian. 4 golden core stage elders attacking at the same time. Their strength was so vast that it could destroy the heavens and earth. If the square hadn't been stabilized by the ancient array, the area within 100 kilometers of the Changshan sect would have been destroyed. Very strong. This attack made the Changshan sect leader, Ming Rui, change his expression. The 4 guest elders were different from the ordinary elders. Their status was even higher. They would only attack when the sect was in danger. However, with the strength of the 4 guest elders, they could completely suppress the original 8 elders. They were not willing to give up their Jindan to fight her. If they all attacked at the same time, even if she had already broken through, she would still have to avoid them and would not dare to face them head-on. Chapter 1139. Master. Tang Linglong was extremely nervous. Lady Wu, Yi Karen and Mao Hongdai also turned pale. Li Wuji and Fan Xiuzhu were also trembling in fear. "It's over! It's over!" Fairy Luo Mei sighed and shook her head in despair. The 4 guest elders were all at the peak of their cultivation, and their might was overwhelming. They were all originally top-level characters, so how could Jiang Tian have any hope of winning? Even as a smile appeared on Prince Jihan's face. How dare you compete with the sun and the moon? Jiang Tian smiled faintly and stomped his right foot in the air. Boom! With a sound, the swaying divine tree exploded. Thousands of branches swept out, wrapping around the crowd. Kill! Feng Doshan shouted and activated the furious wind 1,000-blade slash. Tens of thousands of wind blades, each of which could kill a foundation establishment cultivator, formed a wind blade dragon and slashed towards the branches. However, even though the green wood chi of the whirling godly tree seemed weak, it was actually extremely tough. The wind blades shattered one after another, and the branches twisted into a giant fist that fell from the sky and smashed Feng Doshan to the ground. Clang! The ground trembled as the formation patterns were obliterated. Numerous enormous ravines split open in a ghastly manner. Feng Doshan was an experienced golden core cultivator and had 1,000 years of life. Even so, he couldn't withstand Jiang Tian's attack and spat out blood. The tens of thousands of beast souls rushed towards Jiang Tian like a tsunami, but they were directly smashed into pieces by the tens of thousands of branches. Jiang Tian was hit by the backlash of the beast souls, he vomited blood and staggered backwards. Shui Qianxing's water dragon had just traveled a few hundred meters when Jiang Tian's Xian water azure dragon exploded. The mystic water was heavy and could obliterate everything while the green dragon was mighty. It tore through the sky and smashed down with its huge claws, knocking Shui Qianxing into the air like a broken kite. Even his ribs were broken. In the end, the black-robed elder Guisha's skeletal staff was shattered by Jiang Tian's lightning-attributed punch. It turned into white bones and scattered in the air. Guisha's arms were fractured and his blood dyed the sky. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Tian had broken through the attacks of 4 guest elders in one breath, and he was completely unharmed. How is this possible? At this moment, everyone was screaming. How can this person have so many mystiques and skills? And each of them is so powerful. The beasts retreated to the edge and howled. They looked as if they had seen an evil spirit. They were all powerful people and had vast resources. However, they only cultivated 1 or 2 skills and couldn't be compared to Jiang Tian, who was proficient in everything. This is terrifying. This person is a freak. I thought the Yan Huang tribe didn't have any legacies? Shui Qianxing coughed out blood from his chest in disbelief. Feng Doshan didn't even have a chance to speak. He was entangled by the swaying divine tree's branches and smashed into the ground again and again. His body was broken and covered in blood. He was in a miserable state. Continue to attack. Don't hold back. No matter how strong he is, he can't withstand our combined attacks. Guisha's eyes were sinister as he shouted angrily. Shui Qianxing and Shou Ruhai quickly used their secret techniques to heal their wounds and attacked Jiang Tian together. This time, the 4 guest elders fought even more carefully. They covered each other's backs, increasing their power by a few notches. Feng Doshan stirred up a hurricane and wind blade. It was earth-shattering and swept towards Jiang Tian. Shui Qianxing used the wind to form water dragons, water beasts, and water gods. They looked like they could crush space. Shou Ruhai formed the shadows of ancient beasts. Some of them suppressed the sky and some of them roared as if they could break the mountains and tear the sky apart. Especially when Guisha used the flickering light-passing shadow ghost step technique to travel through space, appearing and disappearing suddenly, appearing and disappearing mysteriously. He would often suddenly appear near Jiang Tian and unleash his divine ability, disappearing in a flash after finishing the attack. It was extremely tricky. I hope Immortal Master Jiang can win. If he loses, the Changshan sect will definitely wipe me out and destroy my divine soul. Fairy Luo Mei's heart was in her mouth. She clenched her fists and sweat beads appeared on her face. Come on, Master. Tang Linglong, Yi Karen, and Lady Wu felt that it was an eye-opener. These people were too strong. They were only at the Foundation establishment realm and couldn't help at all. Once they entered the battlefield, they would be torn to pieces. Tang Linglong gritted her teeth and made up her mind to cultivate tirelessly so that she could fight side by side with her master one day. Li Wuji's mind swayed as he watched. He felt dizzy and his vision blurred. He didn't even dare to think about such a divine ability. They're too powerful. And they're so shameless. 4 against 1. Mao Hongdia's face was as pale as a sheet. She was so angry that tears welled up in her eyes. She was worried for Jiang Tian. Open. However, Jiang Tian didn't seem to be at a disadvantage when fighting against 4 divine powers. Jiang Tian's 4 divine bodies had the strength of 4 golden core cultivators, and they were all divine-grade golden core cultivators. Even if they joined forces, Jiang Tian would still be able to suppress them. Suddenly, Jiang Tian was hit by Shui Qianxing's water dragon and was sent flying 1,000 meters away. He was in great pain. Great. We hit him. The 4 of them cheered. After a long time, they finally hit Jiang Tian. Star Butcher, aren't you very powerful? Ha, you're just an ordinary person. Feng Dushan roared triumphantly. In fact, Jiang Tian had beaten them even worse. All 4 of them were covered in blood and had broken bones and tendons. However, the Changsheng sect had too many healing spells, so they would be able to recover quickly and fight again. Jiang Tian wasn't injured this time. However, Jiang Tian still couldn't bear it. A glint of coldness flashed in Jiang Tian's eyes. He curled his lips and said coldly, "Guys, you've made me really angry. Next, I will finish this battle in 4 moves and the 4 of you will die." If Jiang Tian had said this before, people would have laughed their heads off. However, things were different this time. Jiang Tian had shown part of his strength and they didn't dare to underestimate him. Watch out. The yellow-skinned monkey is going crazy. Hearing this, the 4 of them suddenly felt a chill down their spines. Their eyes were alert and their bodies were tense, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Jiang Tian put away his divine powers and gathered his energy. Suddenly he shouted and displayed the red sparrow Dharma form. Instantly, it was as if a supernova had exploded in Jiang Tian's dantian. Light shone brightly, and endless blazing flames gushed out. A 300-meter-long vermilion bird silhouette appeared in front of Jiang Tian, and then it quickly merged with Jiang Tian. In the end, Jiang Tian turned into a black tortoise statue that was 100 feet tall. It had a bird's head and a human's body. It had arms and wings and was surrounded by flames like a god of fire. It stepped on the ground and raised its head to the sky. In the whistling sound, billowing flames swept across the area like a sea of fire and enveloped the 4 of them. I can't take it anymore. The 4 of them suddenly screamed. Many of their avatars collapsed in an instant and terrifying cracks appeared on their bodies. Their defensive restrictions were useless under the burning of the red sparrow true fire. They couldn't hold on for more than a second. The 4 of them dragged their broken bodies and fled in a sorry state. However, the sea of fire was too large and almost filled the entire square. Moreover, Jiang Tian continued to spit out flames to chase after him. It only took a few breaths of time. Shou Ruhai, who had the slowest movement technique, couldn't hold on any longer. With a scream, his body collapsed and turned into a wisp of green smoke. His divine soul was destroyed and disappeared from the world. Stop it. Otherwise, I'll kill your people. Geisha used the flickering light-passing shadow movement technique and rushed into the sky, breaking free of the sea of fire. Then, he grabbed at Tang Linglong and the others in the audience. In the palm of his hand, streaks of evil spirit chi spewed out and formed a huge skull. It opened its bloody mouth and seemed to be able to swallow the sky. Elder Geisha is amazing. By disrupting his mind, he will definitely be able to turn the situation around. Water must have entered his brain. He was trampled by an elephant and actually brought his companions here. Won't he be surrounded and killed by us in minutes? Seeing this, many disciples nodded in approval. This Star Butcher is too arrogant and condescending. Not only did he come in alone, but he also brought a group of useless disciples and friends. Does he think we can't kill them? Crown Prince Jihan's face was full of mockery as he shook his head in disdain. Some disciples had gloomy expressions and were ready to kill. They wanted to wait for an opportunity to attack Tang Linglong and the others. Guisha, try and kill my people if you dare. Seeing this, Jiang Tian's eyes were overflowing with coldness. He divided his attention and unleashed his primordial qi. The 1,000-foot-tall divine General Geng Jin suddenly appeared and rushed up high. His long saber swept toward the disciples in the audience. Boom! The divine Geng Jin body was in the phenomenal success stage and was not to be underestimated. When the saber slashed down, it was extremely sharp and the layers of protective light shields were all shattered. When the saber slashed down, the Grand Elder's expression changed, but he could not stop it. The huge saber light that was about 1,000 meters long was extremely dazzling. It pierced the sky like a huge sun rising. At this moment, within a radius of 100 miles, the entire Longevity Mountain was illuminated by this earth-shattering saber. Even the ordinary people in the mortal city at the foot of the mountain saw this scene. Who is this expert? It's too shocking. It's simply an unparalleled power. How terrifying! I heard that a Yen Huang tribesman appeared and challenged the sect leader. He must be a peerless expert. The outer sect disciples of the Longevity sect who could not enter the square were all shocked. They were discussing and holding their breath. Their faces were full of fear and their hearts were in turmoil. They could not calm down for a long time. On the square, the huge saber light poured down like the Milky Way, destroying everything. Any protective mystiques or Dharma treasures were useless. Boom! There was a loud sound and the ground shook. The seats around the square had a huge gap cut open, like a meteorite crater. That area no longer existed. At least 10,000 disciples were slashed, their flesh and blood splattered. They died on the spot. At this moment, a quarter of the audience was turned into a battlefield. Blood flowed, broken limbs piled up, organs and bones flew everywhere. Screams rang out and the thick smell of blood filled the air. It hurts so much. Save me. My leg, my leg. This attack killed at least 10,000 people. Many of the Longevity sect disciples had their intestines pierced and their limbs broken, but they were not completely dead. They screamed in agony. This star butcher is too cruel. Yeah, this person is a demon. He's a demon. The power of one saber is so terrifying. At this moment, the other disciples were shocked to the point of being dumbstruck, and they felt a chill run down their spines. Their entire bodies trembled without end, and they looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a devil. Even some of the hall masters were scared out of their wits. Facing the attack of the ghostly fiends, Jiang Tian did not rescue the disciples at all. Instead, he fought among himself. If you dare to touch them, I'll kill your Longevity sect disciples. At this moment, the Prince of Extreme Frost and many others understood. This Yen Huang tribe cultivator known as the Star Butcher had never been stupid or arrogant. He had always kept a low profile. Because he had the ability to protect his disciples and friends. To him, the Longevity sect was not a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. It was as easy as entering an uninhabited land. Anyone who dares to harm a hair of my disciples and friends will be buried with the 100,000 disciples of the Longevity sect. Jiang Tian's face was cold, his eyes as calm as still water. It was as though killing 10,000 people was just killing a few ants. Chapter 1140. Guisha, don't. The white-bearded Grand Elder suddenly made a move and used a secret technique. He pointed his finger in the air and broke Elder Guisha's skull avatar. Grand Elder, why are you stopping me? Why don't you kill his disciples? But many of our disciples have been killed. Guisha once again condensed a skeleton devil and shouted unwillingly. The white-bearded Grand Elder's cheek muscles twitched as he thought quickly. Jiang Tian had killed 10,000 of his disciples with a single slash, causing his heart to ache to the extreme. He was also furious to the extreme. He wanted nothing more than to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. They were the future hope of the sect. They were the elites that they had nurtured for many years. But now they were all destroyed. Of course, he wanted to kill Jiang Tian. However, after Divine General Geng Jin slashed, he floated in the air and pointed his long blade at the other disciples in the seats. As long as Guisha did not stop, Divine General Geng Jin would only need to slash a few times to destroy the Changshan sect. The Changshan sect had a typical pyramid structure. Although the elders and sect leaders were powerful, they were all supported by the blood essence of the disciples at the bottom. If the base of the pyramid was destroyed, the top of the pyramid would become a pavilion in the air. It would eventually collapse and nothing would be achieved. In the end, the Grand Elder gritted his teeth and said coldly, "Guisha, you are not allowed to attack fellow cultivator Xingtu's disciples and friends. We will fight according to the rules. Otherwise, I will kill you first." Yes. Guisha was so angry that he vomited blood. He broke the skull demon that he had just formed. However, he did not dare to rush into the battlefield and fight with Jiang Tian. Instead, he hid in the protective shield of the spectator seats and waited to see what would happen. He was so frightened that he was trembling. Jiang Tian was too powerful. He could not compare to him at all. He had not figured out whether he should run away or fight with Jiang Tian to the death. Shui Qianxing let out a miserable cry. The protective shield formed by the water essence shattered and was burned to ashes. In the next moment, Feng Doshan could not hold on any longer. He broke into pieces of black charcoal and fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, Guisha was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He trembled and his knees went soft. He directly knelt down in the air and kowtowed like he was pounding garlic. "This junior is no match for you, so I admit defeat." This junior was only bewitched by Shou Rahai's instigation. "Senior Star Slaughter, please show mercy and spare this junior's life." Everyone was dumbstruck when they saw this. They were scared silly by Jiang Tian's monstrous domineering aura, and they were unable to recover from their shock for a long time. In the blink of an eye. From the time Jiang Tian attacked to killing 3 guest elders, scaring Guisha into kneeling and begging for mercy, it had only been a few breaths of time. Jiang Tian's might seriously exceeded their imaginations. They were confused. Since when did the Yan Huang tribe have such an expert at the sect master level? Why had it never appeared before? Most importantly, Jiang Tian was too ruthless. Guisha had attacked Tang Linglong and the others, and Jiang Tian had killed 10,000 of their fellow sect members to completely intimidate them. Such decisiveness and ruthlessness made them feel as though a bucket of ice water had been poured over their heads. They were chilled from head to toe. Spare your life? Ridiculous. Jiang Tian stood proudly in the air and laughed. "If you fail to kill me and everyone says that it was someone else who instigated it, I will spare your life. In the future, everyone will think that I am easy to bully and will come to humiliate me and kill me. Although you are as weak as an ant in my eyes, I am afraid of trouble. Therefore, I will use your dog life to warn the world that I, Star Butcher, am not to be trifled with." After hearing half of it, Guisha knew that things were not going well. He used his spatial secret technique and stepped on the ground. His body disappeared into the air. When he appeared again, he was already a few kilometers away, almost escaping out of the square. "Kiki, you want to run? If I want to kill someone, who in this world can run away from me?" Jiang Tian chuckled. In the depths of his eyes, the purple lightning eye ring expanded and flashed. 2 bolts of purple lightning zigzagged out. The 2 lightning bolts looked ordinary, but when they passed through the air, they directly pierced through the air and created a long crack. Guisha didn't even have time to take a second step before he was blown into nothingness by the purple lightning. His body turned into ashes and even his golden core was shattered, leaving nothing behind. The guest elder, a golden core overlord, Guisha, was dead. Seeing this scene, everyone began to tremble and their faces turned ashen. A purple lightning bolt shot out from his eyes and killed a golden core cultivator 10 miles away. That was terrifying. "It's over. It's over. This person is a vengeful person. Why was I so mean?" The Prince of Jihan trembled in fear and yellow urine came out from his legs. A golden core cultivator was scared to the point of peeing on the spot. But in Jiang Tian's eyes, there was no such thing as an ant. He turned around and looked at the sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui calmly. "I wonder if I'm qualified to challenge you now? Why don't I kill a few more elders for you to see?" I should call you Kong Teichu. Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changxing sect, was like a goddess in the sky. She smiled and said in a sweet voice, "Don't worry, Brother Li, I've never thought that you would go to West Earth so quickly." Once that was said, the whole place was in an uproar. It was as if waves were rolling, tsunamis and hurricanes were sweeping across. Everyone's expression changed drastically. They were dumbstruck as they looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. They whispered in each other's ears and discussed animatedly. "So, he's the top cultivator of Earth, Kong Teichu. You're really bold." Taking an unconventional path, he actually charged into the depths of West Earth alone. That's unexpected. He's indeed extraordinary. How terrifying. This is a risky move, trying to catch them off guard. Many people were shocked, and some of them were even unwilling to admit that they admired him. If someone had said that Kong Teichu of Earth had entered West Earth to attack the Changxin sect, they would have laughed their heads off and treated him as a fool. In the eyes of the overlords of West Earth, the human race on Earth had lost their Tao teachings and was as vulnerable as insects. But now, Jiang Tian had already killed the 4 guest elders, and it was an instant kill. Pointing his sword at Ming Rui made them realize Jiang Tian's terrifying strength. "That's right. It's me." Jiang Tian didn't deny it. He stood in the air with his hands behind his back and said calmly, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to become the master of this world." A few simple words came out of Jiang Tian's ears. However, in the ears of the crowd, it was no different from a sudden clap of thunder. How audacious of him! This kid is simply unrestrained, domineering, and fierce to the extreme. He was indeed a master of the Overlord realm. Even if those worlds weren't as powerful as West Earth, they were still the masters of the worlds. So, he's Kong Teichu, the one who controls Earth and Stellar Sky Domain. Kong Teichu. Crown Prince Jihan smiled bitterly and suddenly felt like he was a frog at the bottom of a well, a clown. It was ridiculous and ignorant to the extreme. Before this, he had looked down on Jiang Tian and thought that Jiang Tian was from a lowly race and wasn't qualified to be on the same level as him. He even felt ashamed of being Jiang Tian's personal disciple. Today, at the blood-bathing ceremony, he wanted to suppress Jiang Tian and become the cult master's favorite personal disciple. He didn't expect that Jiang Tian was actually a master of a world, and he wasn't after the position of a personal disciple. This breadth of mind, this domineering aura, this limitless authority, how could he, a mere prince of a mundane country, be compared to him? So, his real identity is actually... Mao Billian's eyes almost popped out. She had heard of Kong Teichu's name long ago. It was said that he was the strongest person in Earth domain and had even dominated other dimensional worlds. What was laughable was, she had thought that Jiang Tian needed the Mao clan's protection and had looked down on him because of his identity as Jiang Tian's guard. Why didn't he tell me? He probably thought that a small character like me wasn't qualified to talk to him. I looked down on him so much, why didn't he kill me? Did he think that I wasn't qualified for him to make a move? But now, she finally understood that Jiang Tian was a master of the Overlord realm and wanted to kill the Longevity sect master and become the master of the Overlord realm. With such a status and strength, he didn't need the Mao clan's protection. In fact, Jiang Tian had been helping and saving the Mao clan. At this moment, a strong sense of regret surged in her heart. She only felt that this was the biggest joke in her life. Kong Teichu, you saw it too. What the Longevity sect is doing is to open a path for the people in the world and to transcend this world. The Longevity sect master, Ming Rui, was extremely beautiful. Her eyes were sad and weathered as she said patiently, "For this goal, countless seniors and sages of the Longevity sect have sacrificed their flesh and blood without fear of death. I wonder if today's matter has touched you? Although your sect's teachings are bewitching, your spirit of pursuing the limits of cultivation and climbing to the peak of cultivation has indeed shocked and impressed me." Jiang Tian nodded slightly and said honestly, "Your cultivation arts and resources aren't the best in West Earth. But you're like a warrior cutting his wrist and scraping his bones to heal his wounds. You're daring enough to cut off the rotten and weak parts through the sect competition and keep renewing your body. That's why you're ranked as the top cultivation arts in West Earth. Kong Teichu, you're indeed the top overlord on Earth. You're really knowledgeable. The longevity sect master, Ming Rui's eyes glittered and a hint of joy appeared on her face. She said with a gentle voice, "You're not like those fake Taoists who are full of blood, cruelty and disregard human relations when they see what the longevity sect does. My friend, to be honest, I admire you very much. Why don't we bury the hatchet and shake hands and make peace? From now on, I, Ming Rui, will support you to dominate the world on Earth and let you take care of the Brahmin." A trace of shyness and joy appeared on her face, like a delicate flower shining on the water, beautiful beyond compare. She was obedient and said softly, "Besides, I don't have a cultivation partner and I've always been alone. If you're willing, I'm willing to become your cultivation partner and teach you the power of my essence in. From now on, my husband will have the final say in the longevity sect. You and I can climb the path of deity hand in hand and pursue the supreme great Tao. Isn't that wonderful?" Once she said that, everyone went silent. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, not daring to believe it. Is the sect master proposing in public? Chapter 1141. The people of West Earth were brave and open-minded. Women could boldly propose to men in public. Jiang Tian and Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changshan sect, were like two armies facing each other. Many people were surprised by what the sect master had done. "Sect master, you're wise." However, some of the more experienced members of the Jianghu nodded their heads. The Changshan sect was indifferent to life and death. They regarded blood, family and relationships as worthless. They only focused on the strong and kept challenging the strong. They only pursued the supreme Tao and cultivated to the limit. For example, if a cultivator killed the father of another cultivator, the latter wouldn't avenge his father if his cultivation was higher than the cultivator. The sect master of the Changshan sect didn't care how many people Jiang Tian had killed. As long as Jiang Tian was willing to join the Changshan sect, they would let bygones be bygones. As long as Jiang Tian was a strong cultivator, he would be worthy of the sect master of the Changshan sect. And now, Jiang Tian had killed 3 guest elders in a row. The strength he showed was already at the perfected golden core realm. Besides, Jiang Tian was very young and he was the dominator of Earth. His future was limitless. He was no less than the tower master of Tingyu Tower. The sect master of the Changshan sect chose him. It seemed unreasonable, but in fact, it was very rational. Ascending to the sky in one step. Ascending to the sky in one step. At the same time, many young male cultivators were looking at Jiang Tian with envy and jealousy. They couldn't wait to replace him. That's right. If Jiang Tian absorbed the primordial yin of the sect master of the Changshan sect, it would be equivalent to hundreds of years of cultivation. It could push Jiang Tian from the foundation establishment realm to the perfected foundation establishment realm and directly to the golden core realm. Lying on the lap of a beauty while drunk and holding the power of the world when sober, pushing his cultivation to infinitely higher. That was simply the dream of many male cultivators. He was originally a mortal enemy, but he conquered the sect master with just a little bit of cultivation. It would be a good story if it were to be spread. Yes, that's what a real man should do. Many people sighed inwardly as they looked at Jiang Tian, who was standing in the air, with reverence in their eyes. Although they couldn't see him, they yearned to see him. In the crowd, Lady Wu pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Immortal Master Jiang is really powerful. He took down the Changshan sect without using a single soldier." Li Wuji shook his head and sighed. "It's good to be young. Being handsome makes one invincible. I can't compare to you, I can't compare to you." Senior Luo Mei, big brother Jiang won't agree, right? Mao Hongdai, on the other hand, looked very nervous. She clenched her fists tightly. Fairy Luo Mei laughed bitterly. She was also unsure. Jiang Tian had once rejected her request for dual cultivation. It could be seen that he was deeply in love with his wife and had a strong sense of morality. However, the so-called devotion and loyalty were only because the temptation was not great enough. No matter how good Jiang Tian's wife was, she was only a mortal woman. How could she be compared to the deathless sect master who was like a goddess? Tang Linglong secretly gritted her teeth and snorted disdainfully. Why are the women of West Earth so cheap? What a seductive woman! Keep dreaming. How could my master possibly take a fancy to you? Of course, only a minority of Tang Linglong thought so. Most of them thought that Jiang Tian would definitely agree, because if he rejected the temptation of working a few hundred years less, he would be out of his mind. He, deathless sect master, you think too highly of yourself. Jiang Tian shook his head gently and said mockingly, "You're giving me charity? Do you think you're giving me alms? Do you think you're high and mighty? Do you think you can wait until I shed tears of gratitude? Wrong. Don't even think about it. I already have a wife. Don't even think about coveting my beauty. You should know that I'm here to kill you." He rejected her? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They could not believe it. "Your wife's cultivation is stronger than mine?" The deathless sect master asked calmly. At least not now. She has yet to enter the foundation establishment realm. She is pregnant and has been bedridden for a long time. She is in a precarious state. Then, do you think I'm not beautiful enough? The longevity sect leader asked with a proud expression. "You're not bad looking." Jiang Tian sneered. This woman had a voluptuous chest, a slender waist, and slender legs. Her figure was tall and sexy, and she was even more attractive than the supermodels on Earth. She had just absorbed the blood of countless living people to nourish her body. At this moment, her skin was tender and flawless like a newborn baby, snow white and crystalline, and her face was gorgeous to the extreme. Coupled with her domineering and overbearing temperament, she was like a high and mighty empress overlooking the world. She was capable of arousing the desire of any man to conquer her. "Then why didn't you agree?" Ming Rui asked. "There's no reason. Because I don't love you at all." Jiang Tian looked at her with disdain and said coldly, "In their eyes, you're the sect master and a goddess above the world, but in my eyes, you're not even as good as a strand of hair on my wife's head. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? You're a few hundred years old. You want to sleep with me. You want to covet my handsome face. You're much prettier than you are. What's in your head? Can you have some self-awareness?" After hearing what he said, the entire place went silent. Not a single sound could be heard in the square within a few kilometers. The tens of thousands of people present were dumbfounded. Their tongues were tied and they couldn't say a word. "Has your master always been so narcissistic?" Fairy Luo Mei looked at Tang Linglong and said dumbfoundedly, "She's too mean. Even if she rejected him, she didn't have to attack him like that." Lady Wu felt a bit sorry for the deathless sect master. That's right. She's too hateful. She had a chance to negotiate peacefully, but now she's fighting to the death. Li Wuji sighed and lamented. That's not all. Any woman who covets my master's beauty is asking for trouble. My master will kill her." Tang Linglong grunted. "Kong Teichu, you're courting death." As expected, Ming Rui was enraged. A furious roar that was like rolling thunder came out from her full chest, shocking everyone present. She was furious. She was furious like never before. Even though she had cultivated for a few hundred years, she was still a woman after all. When you humiliated someone with your age and appearance, it was even worse than killing her. "You aunt. I've already given you a chance to live, but you don't know it and you still dare to humiliate me like that." Ming Rui, the sect master of the longevity sect, ground her teeth. Her clear eyes were burning with anger. She was fuming. She rose slowly like a dragon and her clothes fluttered in the wind. She looked down at Jiang Tian as if he were an ant and shouted, "Bastard! Do you really think you can show off in front of me just because you killed a few golden core cultivators and a few guest elders? How dare you underestimate me? I'm a superior grade golden core cultivator and a nascent soul cultivator. I can kill you as easily as killing a chicken. Are you finally angry? Are you going to fight?" Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back and looked cold. I've been waiting for a long time. It's time to fight. Women just love to chatter. You can't compare to my wife. Very well. As you wish, I'll send you on your way. It's also your honor. Ming Rui, the sect master of the longevity sect, widened her eyes slightly when she heard this. Her eyes were filled with killing intent and hatred. A trace of determination flashed across her beautiful face. She suddenly attacked, slamming her palm down at Jiang Tian. The sky cracked and the moon and the sun hung upside down. The power of the slap was earth-shattering. Chapter 1142. Ming Rui didn't hold back at all. She wanted to let Jiang Tian know that there was always someone better than him out there. She wanted to make Jiang Tian regret it. How stupid of him to reject her confession and marriage proposal was. Boom. Streams of blood gushed out from his dantian, surging and surging. That wasn't an exaggeration, but a real blood-red river. It was dozens of meters wide and a few hundred meters long. The rivers of blood formed a 1,000-meter-thick giant palm in the blink of an eye and pressed down on Jiang Tian. The howling wind from his palms bombarded everyone's eardrums, causing them to feel like they were going to explode. The enormous pressure was like a myriad of mountains smashing down in unison. On the square, the originally dazzling and resplendent formation markings dimmed and were obliterated, and the ground shook violently and exploded apart, causing numerous terrifying and enormous ravines to split open. Is this the power of a nascent soul cultivator? Countless people were shocked and suffocated. Ming Rui had evolved to the extreme and unleashed the power of a nascent soul cultivator. That attack was so terrifying that it seemed to be able to crush the ground and turn the world upside down. The power of a nascent soul cultivator. Jiang Tian's robe fluttered like a leaf in the wind. He wasn't frightened, but he was thrilled. He was excited to see the prey. He had finally met someone with the power of a nascent soul cultivator. The sect master of the Changshan sect and the sacred ancestor of the light sect were both at the nascent soul level, between the perfected golden core level and the real nascent soul level. But they were completely different. Sacred ancestor Qi Liao had just woken up from the stone statue. He had been sleeping for a long time and his energy, body and mind had been exhausted. He was half dead. However, this woman had absorbed the blood of 10,000 people and refined dozens of golden cores. She had just entered the nascent soul level and her mind, energy, body and divine powers were all at the peak. She wasn't a nascent soul cultivator right then, but she could still fight against a nascent soul cultivator and retreat. So, in that sense, the sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, was even more powerful than sacred ancestor Qi Liao. Sect master is indeed the sect master. His attack is so terrifying. Is this the power of a nascent soul cultivator? That kid is dead. The crown prince of Extreme Frost and many of the people present were overjoyed. It was as if they could already see Jiang Tian being crushed into meat paste and blood splattering everywhere. However, right at this moment, everyone saw that Jiang Tian suddenly turned around and waved his right hand. It was done casually and without a sound. However, a sharp golden arc of light burst forth from Jiang Tian's palm. The golden arc of light slashed toward the giant blood-red palm at an unimaginable angle. It was extremely ingenious, like an antelope hanging its horn. Chila! A bolt of golden lightning flashed across the sky. Jiang Tian's Gingjin Qi weapon had already reached perfection. Its speed, sharpness, angle and strength were all natural and unparalleled. Under the might of the Gung Metal Qi weapon, the huge blood-red palm was split into two from the middle as if it was made of tofu. After that, the vast amount of true yuan contained within exploded uncontrollably. Kong Teichu actually broke the blood palm. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Their eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. The shock on their faces was extremely intense. The strength of the longevity sect leader was obvious to all. He had killed several golden core elders consecutively. No one had ever stopped him before. That was why they were so crazy about the longevity sect leader. But now, an ant-like Yen Huang tribesman from Earth, where the spiritual qi had withered and the legacies had been cut off, had actually broken her blood-red palm. Moreover, he had done it so casually and effortlessly. Rumble, 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 rumble. A blood-red cloud ring with a diameter of 3 kilometers appeared around the explosion and rolled in all directions. Instantly, layers of defensive light shields were suppressed, torn, and shattered in an instant wherever the cloud ring passed. The 8 protective light shields were created by the powerful figures of the longevity sect. However, they were still unable to withstand a single blow and shattered on the spot. Wah. So strong. I can't take it. Countless disciples were thrown off their feet and vomited blood. Some of the weaker ones fainted on the spot, twitching all over. Only the experts of the Foundation establishment realm and above could withstand it. However, they were not feeling well either. Their faces were pale and their bodies were swaying. The Grand Elder's face was stern as he shouted, "Disciples below the Golden Core stage, retreat quickly. Kong Teichu's strength has definitely reached the late Golden Core stage. So strong. Retreat quickly. A battle of this level is not something we can withstand." Actually, there was no need for him to shout. Many hall masters had already led their disciples down the square to avoid being caught in the crossfire. Your cultivation technique sucks. Your blood qi sucks. You're a terrible person. Your doctrines and beliefs are terrible as well. Jiang Tian laughed coldly. The 4 words "very bad" resounded throughout the world, shaking everyone's hearts. Everyone was stupefied. A saint-level sect leader that only appeared once every 5,000 years. His strength was unparalleled in the Northern Territory. Today, he had defeated 8 elders and had a chance to reach the soul formation realm. Such amazing talent. However, in Jiang Tian's eyes, he was terrible. This guy was unbelievably arrogant. At this moment, the Changshan sect leader's beautiful face was as gloomy as water. Humiliation was written all over her face. No one had ever dared to humiliate her like this. And the person who dared to do so was an ant from Earth. This made her more furious than she had ever been. The next moment, the Changshan sect leader's face suddenly became ferocious. Endless viciousness and resentment spewed out of her eyes as she shouted, "Bastard! Bastard! I'm going to chop you into 1,000 pieces today. I'm going to eat your flesh slowly, suck your blood and bone marrow, refine your soul 10,000 times in raging flames, and use your skin as a shoe to step on." Her thunderous voice sounded like tens of thousands of women crying at the same time. It was hair-raising and scalp-exploding. Streams of blood gushed out from her dantian. It was as endless as a raging river and instantly covered half of the square around Jiang Tian. It was like a sea of blood. With an earth-shattering roar, the unparalleled power of the sea of blood suddenly burst out. Blood sea, 10,000 swords opened the sea. Blood qi surged into the sky like raging waves. Crimson longswords formed in the sea of blood and flew toward Jiang Tian without any blind spots. The whistling sound of the saber, the sonorous sword qi, and the roaring sound of the sea of blood made people's hair stand on end. Blood sea, 10,000 swords open the sea. It's worthy of its name. There really are 10,000 swords. It's extremely difficult to cultivate a killing move. This time, I'm afraid that bastard from Earth won't be able to stop it. At this moment, most people had already left the square. However, they could still feel the terrifying murderous intent and blood qi from 10 miles away. Originally, they were all shocked silly by Jiang Tian, and their hearts were filled with fear. However, after seeing the power of the Changshan sect leader, they were sure that Jiang Tian would definitely die. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Numerous blood swords whizzed out, connected head to tail, and pierced towards Jiang Tian like numerous blood dragons bearing fangs and brandishing claws. These blood swords were translucent, as if they were carved out of red agate. They were beautiful, but they were so sharp that they could penetrate a cruiser with one blow. If 10,000 swords were unleashed at the same time, they would be able to turn an aircraft carrier into a sieve. They were more than 10 times more powerful than the Crimson Giant Palm. They could kill golden core cultivators like ants. Even if the Arhat of the Golden Rock Temple and the Lord Buddha were there, they would have to be cautious. While the Grand Elder and the others nodded and smiled, waiting to see Jiang Tian die. How dare you play with swords in front of me? You're asking for trouble. Jiang Tian sneered and patted the sky-swallowing demon gourd on his waist. What kind of Dharma artifact is that? In everyone's eyes, it was as if a small blazing sun had suddenly erupted from Jiang Tian's waist. As a matter of fact, each and every one of them was a flying sword that had been refined by Jiang Tian countless times. They were now as fine as silver needles. A cluster of flying swords exploded and then grew bigger with the wind. At first, it was like a leaf, then it became a fish, and then it expanded into the size of its body, a 3-foot green peak. Finally, with a clattering sound, it scattered in all directions like a heavenly maiden scattering flowers, piercing towards the blood sword. Put, put. Everyone heard a series of explosions that sounded like a string of firecrackers exploding at the same time. The blood swords exploded one after another. Blood waves rolled in the sky and flowers bloomed. Blood rain fell from the sky. That was the purest essence of life. It was extremely magnificent and made the two of them look like true gods fighting. It was bright and beautiful, but there was also a hint of evil. In a blink, thousands of crimson swords were destroyed by Jiang Tian's flying swords. He was so precise that none of them escaped. Kongdechu, you can't hurt me. Suddenly, the sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, narrowed her eyes. 2,000 flying swords were right in front of her. Blood shield. She gritted her teeth and shouted. Boom! The crimson true essence in her dantian burst out and formed many shields in all directions. These shields were condensed from the purest essence blood, and looked like they were carved from beautiful rubies. They were so heavy that they seemed to be real, and each of them weighed more than 10,000 kilograms. There were hundreds of shields that protected her from the outside. Even if 10 nuclear bombs were to explode at the same time, they would not be able to hurt her at all. Jiang Tian's 2,000 flying swords flew in front of the shield, but all of a sudden, they disappeared into thin air, no more sword whistling and rumbling. In the silence, everyone looked at each other and didn't know what was going on. Then, many crimson shields flew in all directions and exploded. Everyone saw the sect master of the Changshan sect fly into the sky like a giant bird, and a silver sword dragon chased after her. At this moment, Ming Rui, the sect master of the longevity sect, had messy hair and was covered in blood. His body was covered in wounds, and many of them were penetrating wounds. What an insidious way of fighting! At this moment, the Taishang elder and many powerful warriors finally understood that Jiang Tian's flying sword did not disappear just now. Instead, it became smaller and softer, and like a fish, it drilled into the extremely narrow gap between the blood-red shield. Then, it suddenly became larger and exploded with a killing move. Jiang Tian's 2,000 flying swords were extremely powerful. Even if it was an expert in the later stage of the Golden Core realm, they would still be sliced into minced meat and be destroyed in both body and soul. However, the sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, was indeed powerful. Most of the flying swords were knocked away by her secret arts, but 8 of them still managed to hurt her. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Apart from the square, 100,000 disciples in a 100-mile radius around the entire 10,000-year mountain were watching in silence. Tens of thousands of people were terrified. The sect master of the Changshan sect, who had the power of a nascent soul cultivator, was still severely injured by Jiang Tian even though she had formed a shield with her blood essence. That was too shocking. Kang Techu, you've successfully infuriated me. I'll fight you to the death today. In the sky, the longevity sect's patriarch, Ming Rui, roared ferociously. He used a secret technique and his essence blood flowed through his body, rapidly healing his wounds. She had learned her lesson this time. Her blood essence gathered again and formed a crimson light ball, enveloping her. Chapter 1143. So what if I infuriate you? Jiang Tian looked cold. He stepped on the air and flew up. His hair fluttered in the wind and he was full of viciousness. You were destined to die the moment the Xianxia sect gathered the experts and stepped into the Earth sector. Jiang Tian's handsome face was resolute and his eyes were as sharp as knives. He looked at the Xianxia sect leader and shouted in a low voice. Don't you know that land belongs to me, Kong Teichu? You're digging your own grave if you want to destroy my foundation on Earth. His words were like thunder in everyone's ears, causing the entire 10,000-year mountain to tremble. I'll use the blood-body exchanging divine art and you'll definitely die. It's your honor to become my food. Ming Rui, the sect leader of the longevity sect, shouted ferociously. His eyes were filled with arrogance and ferocity. He was like an ancient ferocious beast that had descended. No matter how powerful Jiang Tian was, he was still an ant in Ming Rui's eyes, just a slightly more powerful ant. At this moment, being injured by Jiang Tian was an unbearable defeat. Suddenly, a crimson light shone in his abdomen as if a door had been opened. Many thick crimson divine chains shot out. Each of the crimson divine chains was a few thousand meters long and there were evil runes engraved on them. They were extremely powerful and could easily kill a golden core cultivator. There were an entire few hundreds of these blood-colored divine chains, and they were like rays of light that swept through the heavens and the earth. They danced about chaotically in midair, shattered space, and coiled and shot over. The sect master of the Xianxia sect, Ming Rui, was standing in the air like a monster god. The crimson divine chains shot out from his abdomen and grabbed at Jiang Tian. Those crimson divine chains carried an extremely powerful Dharma power. Each of them was like an altar made of flesh and blood, or rather, the sect master of the Xianxia sect had made them into chains. Once it pierced through Jiang Tian's blood and circulated its magic power, it would be able to absorb and refine Jiang Tian's blood, divine sense, and body as food. You want to eat me? How greedy! Let's see if your teeth are strong enough. Be careful not to break your fangs. Jiang Tian's eyes were filled with mockery. Suddenly he stomped his foot. Suddenly, the void collapsed as boundless light erupted from his body. A surge of Hongming's aura flowed and surged. Instantly, the phenomena of the Gingjin Divine General, the swaying Divine Tree, the Darkwada Azure Dragon, and the radiant Vermilion Bird appeared at the same time. It was like numerous ancient gods had walked over from the end of time and intended to establish a world here. Boom! Gingjin Divine General was more than 300 meters tall. His armor was bright, and he looked like a peerless general. With a slash of his saber, the divine chains exploded. The Blackwater Azure Dragon charged over, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it roared towards the sky. The black water was heavy as it surged and swept out like a millstone. It obliterated everything, causing the mountains and rivers to tremble. The whirling divine tree was 1,000 meters tall, and it continued to expand, covering the sky and the sun. Its branches extended into the depths of the void as if there was no end. The whirling divine tree crazily swallowed the essence chi of heaven and earth, turning it into green wood chi that hung down like silk, protecting Jiang Tian's body. The blood-red divine chains couldn't move at all. The radiant Vermilion Bird was completely formed by flames. Its giant wings were like clouds in the sky and its mouth was spewing blazing flames. Many blood-red divine chains were burned red. Clang, clang, clang. With a series of explosions, they cracked and then exploded. In fact, no one could see what was really going on from their angle. They only saw giant phantoms floating in the sky, clashing fiercely with the divine chains. Then, earth-shattering explosions occurred again and again. The void was distorted and blurry, pieces of it were annihilated. Air currents shot in all directions, causing the world to be chaotic and blurry. Nothing could be seen clearly. It could even be said that many Golden Core overlords couldn't detect this battle with their immortal will. The Dharma power of Jiang Tian and the radiant Vermilion Bird was too powerful. Once their immortal will entered the range of the battle, it would immediately be severely affected and could easily be counterattacked. Rumble! Space warped and trembled as a few hundred blood-colored divine chains exploded apart one by one, and they transformed into expanses of ash that vanished and were obliterated. The billowing smoke and dust gradually calmed down and dissipated. Jiang Tian and the sect master of the Changshan sect floated a few thousand meters in the sky, facing each other 10 miles away. This battle had consumed too much energy. Ming Rui's face was pale and she was panting. She looked exhausted and weak. Her messy hair was stuck to her face, which was covered in sweat and blood. Her phoenix crown was messy and there were many holes in it, revealing her snowy skin which was dripping with blood. On the other hand, Jiang Tian looked normal. His white robe was as white as snow and there was no dust on it, which meant that he still had energy left in the battle. He apparently had the upper hand. Kong Teichu, I've indeed underestimated you. But if I could restart my life, I'd still choose to attack and occupy Earth to open up a wider space for the ancient Tianzhu race. Ming Rui wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and looked at Jiang Tian calmly, but there was a hint of loneliness in her eyes. You're too stupid. Jiang Tian shook his head with a hint of disdain in his eyes. I'm stupid. Ming Rui was stunned and disbelief was written all over her face. She laughed and said, the Golden Rock Temple said that I'm too stubborn and my killing intent is too strong. The leader of the Tingyu Tower said that I'm ruthless and that I'm against nature. The sect master of the fire worship sect said that I'm good at bewitching people and despicable. I have a lot of negative comments, but all of them admit that I am extremely talented and that I am a great strategist. 8,000 years ago, the Changshan sect was only a third-rate sect, not even as good as the beast-controlling sect. I used the flesh-blood altar to gather strength and create countless golden core overlords, pushing the sect to become a first-rate sect. Although we can't compare to the Golden Rock Temple, we can at least compete with the Tingyu Tower, the Fire Worship sect, and the Hehuan sect. Since I took over the Changshan sect, I've cultivated countless golden core overlords and built a glorious sect. Even the Buddha doesn't dare to underestimate my talent. She shook her head with a wry smile and said, and you, Kong Teichu, said that I'm stupid. I don't understand. I don't understand at all. Fine. Jiang Tian lowered his eyebrows and pondered for a while. Finally, he raised his eyebrows and smiled brightly, revealing his white teeth. Since I'm going to send you on your way, I'll let you know why I said you're stupid. I'd like to hear the details. Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changshan sect, became calmer and calmer. She put her palms together and bowed to Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian said calmly, you people call yourselves gods, elites and overlords. You think highly of yourselves, but in my eyes, you're just a bunch of scumbags. You say that resources are limited and human nature is dark. The universe is so vast. Why can't you summon your courage and wisdom to search for new resources in the vast universe? Even if you can't find them, even if you can't cross the boundless black wall, your civilization will at least have a glorious ending. You don't have the courage to explore the outside world. You only know how to hide in this world like a turtle, but you turn around and bully Earth, which is even weaker than you. What kind of overlords are you? Cowards. You're just a bunch of cowards, the most despicable and the ugliest cowards. I, Kong Teichu, have traveled across the 3 worlds. I've killed ruthlessly and my hands are stained with blood. But at least I can say that I've never killed the innocent. I've never bullied the weak. What about you? Mr. Jiang, I think you're mistaken. Ming Rui shook her head calmly and said, we haven't given up on exploring the outside world, occupying Earth and reviving the spirit Qi on Earth. Our sect only asked Jia Yi to do it. We used the flesh altar to break into the soul formation level and explore the outside world. But unfortunately, you're useless. Jiang Tian shook his head in disappointment and mocked. The spirit Qi on West Earth isn't as dense as that in the central galaxy, but it's not a problem to push out a few soul formation cultivators in 1,000 years. But as far as I know, you haven't had a single soul formation cultivator for at least 10,000 years after your dimension was formed. You don't even have a nascent soul cultivator. Besides, even if you've created the blood transformation technique, it's still too lousy in my eyes. There are a lot of problems and serious drawbacks. Even if you use the flesh of 1 million people as food and change your body 10 times, the probability of you reaching the soul formation level is only 1 in 1 billion. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell silent. Many people revealed sorrowful expressions, their eyes filled with despair. Even the Grand Elder couldn't stand straight. He said with a trembling voice, "We've sacrificed so much. Are we still unable to push out a soul formation cultivator? 1 in a billion isn't zero after all. There's still hope after all." Ming Rui's body trembled and her eyes lost focus for a moment. Then, flames of fighting will were burning again. She stuck out her chest and said firmly, "There's still hope after all. Yes, this world is too small. It's like a cage. We have to get out. The spirit chi on West Earth is extremely thin. Even if we sacrifice 10,000, 100,000, or 1,000,000 people, it's worth it as long as one of them can reach the soul formation level. For our children and future generations, we can go out and see the outside world." On the square on the 10,000-year mountain, tens of thousands of cultivators were looking up at Jiang Tian and Ming Rui in the sky. Suddenly, sobs came from the crowd. Many people were crying. At that moment, Li Wuji and the others were also affected. They had some admiration and sympathy for them in their hearts. To some extent, the Changshan sect was indeed extremely evil, inhumane, and unforgivable. However, their passion to pursue the pinnacle of cultivation and break through the confinement of heaven and earth, their determination to reform themselves, the temptation of fame and wealth, the coercion of authority, and their obsession to seek the Tao of heaven and earth on their own without any restraints, all those things made the people from earth unable to hate them at all. They even admired and sympathized with them. "You're really stupid." Jiang Tian heaved a sigh and said leisurely, "It's not a problem of lack of resources and spirit chi. It's just that your cultivation methods and divine powers are too weak. You don't know how to use resources. If I were here, I would definitely be able to break through the shackles of the world and reach the soul formation level in 100 years or even 30 years. After hearing what he said, immediately, the entire place fell silent. Everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. How is it possible to reach the soul formation level in 100 years? Countless cultivators were dumbfounded. Their minds were greatly impacted as they mumbled to themselves. "Are you kidding me?" Even the white-bearded Grand Elder's face changed drastically. He looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief as if he had seen a ghost. Chapter 1144. Stupid again. The sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, was furious. However, after thinking about it, she realized that Jiang Tian was not bluffing. The cultivation resources on Earth were less than 1,000th of what they had here, but Jiang Tian had only used a few years to reach Foundation Establishment Level 4. He was a perfected Golden Core cultivator, and not just any Golden Core cultivator. He might really be able to reach the soul formation realm in 100 years. Could it be that my cultivation path is wrong? Isn't the bloodbath mystic art the most powerful cultivation technique? Thinking of that possibility, Ming Rui's face turned pale and cold sweat the size of soybeans appeared on her forehead. "Sect Master, this person is interfering with your Tao heart. Don't be swayed by him." Seeing that, the Grand Elder's expression changed drastically and he shouted, "The bloodbath mystic art, together with the Reincarnation Sutra, can condense endless chi and elevate the person who absorbs it to the extreme. This is a supreme divine art. He's just a lowly life form from Earth. How can he have the right to say anything?" The battle between experts was not only a competition of cultivation realms, but also a competition of Tao hearts. Only with a Tao heart as firm as a rock could one have an invincible battle intent and unleash the strongest combat power. Earlier, Jiang Tian and Ming Rui's combat strengths were on par, and it was even to the extent that Jiang Tian was slightly superior. Once Ming Rui's Tao heart was destroyed and his battle intent was shaken, then he would fall into eternal damnation and would definitely lose. A supreme divine art? A frog at the bottom of a well can't talk about the sea. A summer insect can't talk about the ice. The problem with this set of cultivation technique was too great. In fact, your sect's rules and teachings are full of loopholes. Jiang Tian's face was full of disdain as his lips curled into a mocking smile. What's the problem? Please enlighten me, fellow Taoist Grand Primordium. Ming Rui and the Grand Elder communicated with their divine consciousness. She said that Kong Teichu's eyes were like torches and his cultivation technique was profound. If he pointed out the loopholes in the cultivation technique, it was very likely that he would perfect and elevate the bloodbath mystic art. When the Supreme Elder saw this, although he was worried, he could only let out a long sigh and did not continue to stop him. Your physical body is fine, but the problem with your divine soul is too serious. Jiang Tian sneered. The rise of a country or an orthodoxy or a civilization does not depend on how many victories it wins, how many experts it has, or how many worlds it has conquered, but on whether or not it has enough confidence and courage to disclose all the truth, and whether or not its followers have enough courage and rationality to accept it. But you don't dare. You don't dare to tell the truth about the blood-bathing mysterious technique. All of you have been trying to confuse the hearts of the people and the believers. You used the illusory promise of happiness in the next life and reincarnation to make them willingly sacrifice their lives and flesh. But in fact, after they offer their essence and life, they will realize that they cannot be reincarnated at all, and there is no afterlife. They are just wandering souls. Without the support of a physical body, their senses will be 100 times sharper, but they will also be 100 times more vulnerable. When the sun shines on them, they will feel like they are in an ocean of fire in purgatory, and when the breeze blows, they will feel like they are in an ice house. They will suffer the greatest pain. They will not accept it. Ming Rui, do you know that there are tens of thousands of souls around you, full of resentment and unwillingness? They want your body and the essence and blood that you refined. I don't believe it. The Reincarnation Sutra is a way to reincarnate souls. They will enter the reincarnation path and be reincarnated as humans again. Also, they will be reincarnated into rich families and live a luxurious life. Not only will they not hate me, but they will also be grateful to me. Ming Rui laughed coldly. She didn't wait for Jiang Tian to speak again before her aura rose steadily, and it tore through the sky as she shouted coldly. Kong Teichu, it's time for this battle to end. Summon the soul of the ancient eternal divine emperor and revive the bloodline. She enunciated each and every word clearly. Her voice was like thunder, exploding the entire sky. The clouds were blown apart by the sound waves. What is an eternal divine emperor? Many disciples, including the crown prince of Jihan, looked at each other in confusion. However, many upper echelons of longevity sect, including the Grand Elder, were shocked and exclaimed at the same time. Most people did not know. The bloodline of the ancient eternal divine emperor was the foundation of the bloodbath body replacement divine art. Summoning the soul and reviving the bloodline was also the strongest attack. In short, the blood-bathing body exchanging technique was not something that anyone could cultivate. Even among the ancient Tianzhu race, only 1 in 10,000 could do it. In the cultivation world, a cultivator's limit was usually 3 times of possession. In fact, many cultivators' souls would be completely destroyed by the laws of heaven and earth during their second possession. For example, Ming Rui of Longevity Sect to refine the essence and blood of 10,000 people into her own body, it was essentially equivalent to possessing tens of thousands of bodies consecutively. Furthermore, she had to refine and combine them into a new body. That required a person's divine powers, physique and spirit to be so vast that it was almost perverse. However, there was always a what-if. Among the ancient Tianzhu race, there were some people who were born with powerful souls and could possess other people's bodies for eternity. They were known as the Eternal Ones. Moreover, the strongest amongst them had once slaughtered millions of people in the history of the ancient times, devoured their blood essence and souls, and dominated an entire era. His might shook the world, and he left behind a brilliant reputation and countless legends. He was known as the Eternal Divine Emperor. The Longevity Sect Master and many of his disciples were actually the descendants of the Eternal Divine Emperor. Their bodies contained his bloodline and some Tao fragments. It was the effect of the bloodline and Tao fragments, coupled with the bloodbath body replacement divine art, that allowed them to possess other people's bodies multiple times. In the end, they fed on flesh and blood to reform their bodies, transforming them into true essence. However, once Ming Rui summoned her heroic soul and used the Tao fragments as an attack, the amount of essence and blood she would consume was no small matter. It could be said to be massive, and the damage to herself was extremely terrifying. In fact, hundreds of years of cultivation would be destroyed overnight, and she would be completely crippled. How could the Grand Elder and the others not be shocked? Ah, Ming Rui screamed as her killing intent reached its peak. 3,000 strands of black hair shot into the sky like a waterfall. Every inch of her skin seeped out with blood. It was the essence of her life. However, behind her, a blurry black shadow slowly condensed and grew larger and larger. It seemed to be stepping on a passage of time and walking over from ancient times. It was getting closer and closer. Boom! At that moment, the supreme aura of the eternal divine emperor descended. It was as if it had crossed countless years and once again descended upon the earth, suppressing the heavens. So powerful, so terrifying. At that moment, everyone was terrified. Even the Grand Elder and many higher-ups were trembling as they felt that terrifying power. At that moment, an unprecedented power revived and circulated in Ming Rui's delicate and beautiful body. It summoned the power of the ancient divine emperor and successfully revived her bloodline. Immediately, it was as if thousands of primordial ferocious beasts had descended. An endless, terrifying, cold, heartless, and bloodthirsty imperial might reappeared in the world, causing everyone's hearts to palpitate. Kill, 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 kill. At that moment, Ming Rui's killing intent was frenzied. Her roar shook the mountains and rivers as she stepped through the void. Behind her, the divine emperor phantom was 10,000 feet tall. It stood indomitable and moved in sync with her. It had an unstoppable aura as it charged towards Jiang Tian. At that moment, countless disciples of the Xianxia sect prostrated themselves and prayed for blessings. Their eyes were filled with fear and reverence. Even the Grand Elder kowtowed. Even outsiders such as Li Wuji and traitors of the Xianxia sect such as Mao Hongdai kowtowed in fear. Although it was only a wisp of remnant soul, it had supreme divine might and fragments of laws contained within. It was extremely terrifying and powerful. At that moment, Ming Rui had already burned her blood essence. Her bloodline and spirituality were almost exhausted. Even if she killed Jiang Tian, her cultivation level would drop greatly. She might even lose all her previous efforts and have to start all over again. However, she had no other choice. Jiang Tian's words also greatly shocked her mind, and she was deeply moved. However, she could not accept denying her lifelong efforts. She wanted to kill Jiang Tian to prove that her path was wise and correct, something that couldn't be denied. Only by killing Jiang Tian could she consolidate and stabilize her Tao heart and the Tao hearts of her fellow sect members. Otherwise, all the efforts of the Xianxia sect disciples would be wasted. Their Tao hearts would shatter and they would fail miserably. Of course, Ming Rui and many experts believed that Jiang Tian would not be able to escape or survive after summoning a wisp of the eternal divine emperor's remnant soul. In fact, Jiang Tian also felt a terrifying pressure at that moment. He found it difficult to move and his mind shuddered, and he felt suffocated. The four mighty god bodies were stunned. They floated in the air, motionless as if they were made of clay or wood. Jiang Tian's soul was suppressed and his connection with his divine body was severed. Is he done for? Sect Master Jiang seems to be frozen by her. Li Wuji, Karen, and the others were shocked. Kill? Tang Linglong looked worried. She leaped into the air and exploded her sword chi. 24 blazing flying swords pierced forward. However, when she was still 1 kilometer away from the target, she was knocked away by Ming Rui's powerful aura. She could not get any closer. She's so powerful. Lady Wu, who had already pulled out her twin sabers, stopped in her tracks. Her eyes were filled with despair and fear. Sect Master's power is unparalleled. Kong Teichu is like a clown. He's too weak to withstand a single blow. Kill him. He destroyed my orthodoxy and my Tao heart. He deserves to die. At that moment, Countless disciples and believers of the Changshan sect were kowtowing and shouting crazily. It seemed that in their eyes, Jiang Tian was definitely going to die. I'll show you what's wrong with your divine soul and your body. Fiend God's art of imprisonment. At this moment, Jiang Tian suddenly lowered his head, and with a thunderous voice, he raised his hands and drew a finger seal with great difficulty. Immediately after, his fingers moved at lightning speed. The more he moved, the faster he moved. The hand seals he formed were filled with a mysterious, ancient, and obscure aura. All of a sudden, the space behind Jiang Tian cracked open with a huge crack. With a buzzing sound, a giant evil eye slowly opened. Billowing fiend qi flowed out of the eye like a butterfly flapping its wings. The moment the eye opened, the surrounding space was filled with cracks that looked like blood vessels. It seemed that the space would crack at any time. Fiend light filled the cracks, making them look extremely evil. What's that? In an instant, the entire area was silent. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. They were dumbfounded and sweating on their foreheads. Chapter 1145. Pitiful Little Thing. Lowly bloodline. Jiang Tian's voice became more and more evil, drifting back and forth. Even though it was fixed in place, it gave Ming Rui the feeling that Jiang Tian was everywhere. Ming Rui deeply frowned. She had already summoned the heroic spirit of the ancient god emperor, but in Jiang Tian's mouth he had become a pitiful little thing, and a lowly one at that. She could not accept this. However, she also felt a strong sense of fear and danger. Her heart was filled with warning signs, and she could not help but slowly stop in her tracks. Behind Jiang Tian, a second fissure appeared, and another bizarre demonic eye slowly opened. He, incomparably lowly and pitiful little being, ignorant and pitiful, Jiang Tian lowered his head and chuckled. Someone like you dares to eat souls and blood? Do you have the ability to control souls and flesh? What is this thing? Ming Rui's expression wildly changed. She suddenly felt unprecedented fear and confusion as she slowly retreated. Because she could sense that the God Emperor's soul fragment was retreating, trembling as if it wanted to leave him. The God Emperor's soul fragment was actually afraid. A third demonic eye appeared in the center of the two demonic eyes. This demonic eye seemed to contain endless demonic fire. It wanted to open, but it could not. Only a slit could be seen, but the endless demonic fire within seemed endless. It was like there was a world of demonic fire that made one shiver in fear. Ming Rui slowly raised his head in a daze. He looked at the three demon eyes that were slowly rising. What rose with the demon eyes was a demon god that was as majestic as a mountain. Black and red demon fire burned around him. He stood high above, looking down at Ming Rui and the remnant soul of the deity emperor. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Ming Rui staggered backward, her throat dry and her voice dry and trembling. You're just an ordinary person. How could your body contain such a terrifying demonic god? Let her see just what kind of thing she is. Jiang Tian abruptly raised his head. His pupils had turned completely black, like black crystals. There was no distinction between the sclera and the pupil. Even the purple lightning eyes and the vermilion bird true fire divine eyes were hidden. Immediately, the three-eyed devil, which was 6,000 meters tall and as tall as the Himalayas, clumsily made a gesture with its fingers and opened its lips, uttering obscure but shocking demonic language. Rumble. The terrifying demonic sound, mixed with the billowing demonic aura, swept out like a raging wave crashing against the shore. But almost at the same time, Ming Rui only felt a strong gust of wind blowing against his face, his clothes flying straight behind him. Ripples appeared all over his body from the demonic sound waves, overlapping one another. The remnant soul of the primordial immortal god emperor behind her actually fled without putting up a fight. It quickly dissipated into the void and disappeared without a trace. Just as Ming Rui was horrified, the demon god only chanted an incantation before it could no longer hold on and slowly collapsed. You're still not good enough? Ming Rui's face lit up with joy. She was just about to step forward and kill Jiang Tian. But all of a sudden, a head grew out of Ming Rui's head. An arm appeared under her armpit with a whoosh, and then 4 or 5 legs grew out. Why? Ming Rui's pretty face revealed a trace of fear and confusion as she muttered to herself. Banging sounds could be heard continuously. Heads grew out of her head densely, and bodies grew out of her body. Countless bodies grew out crazily like bamboo shoots after a rain. In the blink of an eye, she had turned into a huge ball of flesh formed by human bodies. Boom! In the end, Ming Rui landed on the square and continued to expand. In a few breaths, she had expanded into a ball of flesh that was 1/2 kilometer in diameter. This ball of flesh was formed by countless limbs. There were countless heads, arms, thighs, and torsos. There were more than 10,000 of them. They were connected by tendons, blood vessels, and bones, as if countless conjoined babies had grown together. Many hands stretched into the air like a dense forest, scratching and clawing, pushing and hitting each other. Heads were twisting, struggling, hissing, biting, roaring, and crying, as if they wanted to break free from this hodgepodge of bodies. Let me out. I want freedom. Young lady Ming Rui, there is no afterlife, no reincarnation. My soul is being tortured endlessly. When the spring breeze blows, it's like a cold knife cutting my skin. When the warm sun shines, it's like a burning fire. I want my body. Give me back my flesh and blood. Don't hit me. Hit that witch Ming Rui. That bitch. Where are my feet? Who tore my feet off? In the ball of flesh, countless heads screamed and cursed at the sky. They wrestled, tore, and gnawed at each other. Their heads were bleeding, their bones were broken, and their intestines were torn. They wanted to fight for control of this body. As for Ming Rui, she was completely submerged and disappeared. Everyone's scalps tingled as they watched a huge ball of flesh rolling around, quarreling and fighting. In a short period of time, she was tortured to an extremely miserable state. Kong Teichu, you despicable thief, what kind of magic did you use to trap me here? She shouted harshly and cursed incessantly. She struggled, tearing apart her flesh and bones again and again to drill her way out. But every time she tore her flesh, blood, tendons, and bones would immediately connect with her and become one. However, even in terms of physical strength, Ming Rui was still relatively strong among these limbs. In the end, she defeated the other limbs and crawled out. However, when she revealed her head, she was already half dead from the torture. I didn't trick you. Jiang Tian floated down to the ground and revealed a faint mocking expression as he spoke unhurriedly. He said slowly, I only used a secret technique to simulate the real netherworld so that other people's vengeful souls could be revealed. Your chi and blood are more and more vengeful souls, but your divine sense, soul, and all your mental strength cannot be strengthened. When you reach the nascent soul stage, your body will be strong and your bloodline will be sufficient. Your soul will be unable to control it. The other souls will fight for your chi and blood and reveal their true form. Now that you've reached the nascent soul stage, is there any difference between your true appearance and the one you imagined? Jiang Tian's face was full of mockery. Every word was like a sharp sword. He questioned, do you think you can reach the sky and enter the depths of the universe? As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell into dead silence. Everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. The sect master looked so terrifying after reaching the nascent soul stage. After a long time, someone came back to his senses and mumbled to himself in despair and fear. Kong Teichu must be lying to us. This is an illusion. He's messing with my mind. Some people were unwilling to accept it and tears rolled down their cheeks. The disciple saw that his mother was also inside the meatball. She cried, fought with others, and was beaten by others. She was in great pain, begging him for help, calling his name. Back then he sacrificed his mother as blood, thinking that his mother could be reincarnated and live a happy life. But in fact, she wasn't. His mother's soul had always been there and hadn't been reincarnated. Moreover, she was still in great pain and floating around Ming Rui, trying to get her body back. You don't believe me? A nightmare? Then pinch yourself and see if it hurts. Jiang Tian smiled and said calmly, When the West world was created, the spirit world was in spirit world. It was said that no one had reached the nascent soul stage or soul formation stage in the past 10,000 years. You gradually lost hope and lost the will to fight. And Ming Rui, from the day you lost hope, you were no longer a genius that appeared once in 1,000 years. You were just a wretch and a pitiful worm. You placed your hopes on the bloodline of your ancestors and evil cultivation arts, hoping to use other people's bodies and blood to improve yourself. But you didn't know that in the end, it was all for nothing. What's even more unexpected is that all your efforts and all the blood essence you've collected will not only be in vain when you reach the real nascent soul stage, but will also become an obstacle for you. Ming Rui, remember, it's not yours. Even if you snatch it, it's not yours. This sect pursued true eternal life. If they couldn't live forever, they wouldn't fear death. Their Tao hearts could not be shaken by all the tragedies in the world, and they pursued the supreme realm wholeheartedly. But now, Jiang Tian's short words made everyone's Tao hearts tremble and their divine souls tremble. Their Tao hearts were full of flaws and were riddled with holes. They thought it was theirs, but in the end, it was still not theirs. Even if they used altars and secret techniques to refine the blood essence, they couldn't do it. Kong Teichu, although I've lost, I'm not convinced. If you give me time, I'll definitely have a way to completely refine the blood essence. I can also strengthen my main body's divine consciousness and spirit. I want to destroy all these souls. They'll all become my mental nourishment. Although Ming Rui was in a wretched state, he listened quietly with a disdainful expression and gritted teeth. Everyone was shocked. This was Ming Rui. She was not weaker than others and would never admit defeat. However, you can't do it? Look who's that. Jiang Tian smiled mockingly. I've lost. I've completely lost. I was wrong from the beginning to the end. Ming Rui turned his head and suddenly screamed into the sky as tears rolled down his cheeks. She had a tough personality. Even when her bones and flesh were torn, she didn't cry. Even when she was injured by many elders and Jiang Tian, she still didn't cry. But at this moment, she was crying. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She wailed loudly. Everyone was stunned. Beside her, a child of 3 or 4 years old struggled with all his might. He tore off the limbs that were stuck to other people's bodies time and time again, tearing off skin and dripping blood. However, he still broke through the obstacles and reached her side. That was a cute little boy. He was wearing a red doudou, silver jewelry on his chubby wrists, and a longevity lock around his neck. His hair was combed back and looked like it was carved from jade. His pair of big black eyes were cute and bright. The child's body was dripping with blood. The parts that were stuck to other people were torn apart by him again and again. His skin and flesh were torn open, and it was obvious that he was in great pain. Mother, give me a hug. However, his face was full of smiles and joy. He giggled and shouted in a childish voice. I can see you every day, but I can't touch you, Mother. I miss you so much. I've always been cold. The child's little head rubbed against Ming Rui's neck and cheeks with a blissful expression. This is the sect master's child. An elder exclaimed as he recognized the child. At this moment, everyone suddenly thought of a possibility. Their hair stood on end and their scalps exploded. Chapter 1146. The First. He's the first. Ming Rui held the child in her arms and ignored everyone's shocked gazes. She kept kissing him as tears flowed down her face. That year, when I discovered the bloodbath body metamorphosis technique by chance, I tried to cultivate it, but 10 years passed in the blink of an eye, and I couldn't succeed. My flesh and blood rejected each other, and my soul devoured each other. That was just a remnant of the technique, and it was incomplete. I was too impatient. I wanted to become stronger too much. I wanted to break through the obstacles and establish my career. In the end, I used him. Everyone's hearts trembled in horror. The cultivation technique was incomplete and difficult to cultivate, but her child was connected by blood. The bloodbath body metamorphosis technique might successfully devour the child. Sect Master, come out. The Grand Elder suddenly choked with sobs and tears flowed down his face. He sighed and urged with a worried expression. Can't you walk out? Give up this blood essence and body, and you can still live. She can. Jiang Tian shook his head and said indifferently, but I'm afraid she won't come out again. The Grand Elder looked at Jiang Tian in surprise. Ming Rui hugged the child tightly and pressed her cheek against his little face. She asked tearfully, Child, do you blame Mother? Why do you blame Mother? Mother has worked hard too. The child hugged Ming Rui tightly with a childish voice. However, he suddenly sobbed and tears rolled down his face. It's because you haven't hugged me for so long. When he was devoured, he was still very young. He probably didn't know what life and death were, and couldn't distinguish between reality and illusion. In his eyes, his mother was always the mother who doted on him the most. She was the mother who bought him candy, fed him milk, dressed him, and made his bed. He didn't remember the pain of being killed or devoured. He only remembered. When it was cold, there was a bowl of hot soup. When it was hot, there was a mat and a rattan pillow. When he was naughty, there was a slap on his butt. When lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, there was a warm palm covering his ears and holding him in an embrace. That embrace was safe and soft, and he missed it for hundreds of years. What was a mother? Perhaps it was the porridge and rice, the pecks and drinks, the warm embrace, the gentle criticism. Good child, Mother is here to accompany you. I will accompany you forever. An extremely complicated expression appeared on Ming Rui's face. In the end, it turned into endless sorrow. I gave up everything, cut off all emotions and desires, and cultivated demonic arts. I wanted to reach the divinity transformation stage, but in the end, I still failed. Ming Rui was filled with sorrow and sadness. Her tears fell like rain as she sobbed. Who will be the hero in the battle for the immortal path? Taichu path is nothing. At this moment, I finally can't stand the mental torture anymore. My Dao heart is gone. At this moment, I finally know that my tears are salty. At this moment, I finally understand that no matter how powerful I am, I'm still a human. Since I'm a human, I shouldn't pretend that I'm a god or an immortal, not a human. Ming Rui smiled, but tears rolled down her cheeks. However, when she looked at Jiang Tian, there was no resentment in her eyes, only gratitude. She looked at Jiang Tian gratefully. Jiang Tian had broken her Dao heart, but he had allowed her to see his true heart. Others might not be able to see it, but I can see it using a secret technique. Jiang Tian clasped his hands behind his back, shook his head, and sighed. Your child's soul lingers around you all the time. And your soul is also looking for him. It's just that you two are in different worlds and can't see each other. I only use the magic that controls the underworld to help you see your own heart. I, Ming Rui, am proud of my amazing talent and unparalleled achievements. However, only when I came did I realize that I have done nothing in my life. I have committed countless sins in my life. Ming Rui's face was blushing and blood tears flowed from her eyes. She was filled with desolation and loneliness. She sighed with regret and said, I'm only using my own life to prove that this path is impassable. She used the last of her strength to shout loudly, All disciples, listen to my orders. Destroy the scrolls of the blood-body changing divine technique and destroy all the flesh and blood altars. Release the flesh and blood. No, release those people. They are living people. They have fathers, mothers, children, and lovers. Give all the spirit chi recovery seeds to Kong Teichu. From now on, the Changshan sect, Kong Teichu, the majestic sect master, and 100,000 disciples, listen to the orders of fellow Taoist Taichu. Ming Rui's face was covered in tears. She used the last of her strength to shout at the sky. I understand. I finally understand. Be it cultivators or mortals, they are all humans. Under the blue sky is the human world, and the matters of the human world can only be described with one word: too late. I've been busy all my life. 500 years of cultivation, 300 years of fighting and killing. In the end, I looked back and saw that I had not done what I should have done. The person I should have loved was already dead, and he was killed by me. Looking back, the road was empty. I looked forward to the road ahead, but there was no family or friends. In this world there was only one thing. She held the child in her left hand and extended her right hand into the void without light. Facing the darkness, her eyes were filled with endless longing and yearning. I'm back. I want to reunite with you. I want to be forgiven. Blood rained down. Ming Rui's body cracked and exploded inch by inch. She was collapsing and dissipating, along with her body and mind. After Ming Rui's immortal will was destroyed, the dead people attached to her immortal will also exploded after a series of twisting, pulling, and expanding. They turned into a rain of flesh and broken bones, filling the entire Changshan Square. Ming Rui was dead. Her ambition, her loneliness, and her regret had all turned into drops of blood and scattered with the wind. She had once carried a heavy burden and rose from a humble position. She started as a cook in the Changshan sect and became an elder and the sect master. She changed her mind and stabilized the Changshan sect. She had once traveled 10,000 miles with a sword and defeated many sects and territories in the north region with her own strength, pushing the Changshan sect to become the top sect in the north region. She had once competed with many sect masters of the large sects and rarely lost in her life. She had once discussed with the Golden Rock Temple's Tathagata. She was a weak woman, but she had become the sect master of the fifth sect in this world. Everyone was shocked when her name was mentioned. Now, her Taoist heart had been destroyed by Jiang Tian, but he could not destroy her thoughts and family. Ming Rui's immortal will also dissipated. Only when the spirit of her main body dissipated could her children and family be at peace. Only then could her heart atone for her sins. At this moment, the sky was red like blood. The sky was gradually darkening. The cold wind blew across the desolate 10,000-year mountain. It was so cold and silent. Everything had come to an end. Longevity, longevity. In this world, how many people can transcend these two words? Where is the boundary between human nature, beast nature, and divinity? Jiang Tian had won, but he was not as happy as he should be. The sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, had a lot of ups and downs in her life. Her experiences were extremely complicated. Her human nature was also extremely complicated. She could not be determined by the simple words good and evil. She modified evil techniques and confused believers. She used white bones as altars and the flesh of tens of thousands of people as nourishment. She did not recognize her family and shattered human relations just to increase her cultivation. She was extremely evil, worse than a beast, like a demon. However, she was not doing it for her own benefit. Instead, she wanted to break the cage of this world, ascend to the heavens, and open up a new world for this world. In this aspect, she was also filled with the radiance of divinity. Even if she was a demon god, she was also a part of divinity. Everyone was the only protagonist in their own life. They had their own pursuits and their own stories. The sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, was not weak. From the perspective of the Changshan sect, she was even a genius and a hero. However, because her path was different, her philosophy was different, and her standpoint was different. She stood on the opposite side of Jiang Tian and fought to the death. In the end, before she died, she opened her arms and walked into the darkness. She was sorrowful and lost. She longed for family and revealed the radiance of human nature. It was this that touched Jiang Tian deeply. What did she leave behind for the world behind her? 1 in a billion is not 0. There is still hope. I am only using my own life to prove it. I am using the lives of countless people of the same sect to prove that this path is blocked. Just as she had said, she had done everything she could to disown her family, killed countless people, and committed monstrous sins. In the end, she had only proved this path was blocked. However, on the long journey of cultivation, how many people had abandoned everything for the sake of a faint hope? In the end, it was all for nothing. In this mortal world, how many people had fought, been hot-blooded, and held high? For the sake of their dreams, they had lived a life of desolation. In the end, they had left behind a sad and sorrowful song. There were thousands of paths in the world. However, sometimes, once one's vision was limited to a blind spot, one would go astray. One wrong step would lead to many wrong steps. One wrong step would lead to eternal regret, and it would be difficult to turn back. At this moment, the entire world was deathly silent. Everyone looked at the place where Ming Rui's body and soul had collapsed and disappeared. Their expressions were extremely complicated, and many emotions were revealed. Ming Rui wanted to reunite with her family, but this was obviously impossible. In fact, there was no afterlife. Everything was just her shattering her own soul and body to return herself and her many souls to nothingness. Everyone had mixed feelings in their hearts, and they felt love and hate at the same time. No one knew who was the first to let out a sigh. Following that, deep sighs could be heard one after another. Ming Rui could be considered to be an extraordinary figure. But in the end, it had come to such an end. It was sad, pitiful, lamentable, and respectable. However, no matter what, all of this had come to an end. The curtains to an era had descended, and a brand new era had begun. At this moment, everyone who'd understood this had withdrawn their gazes and looked respectfully at Jiang Tian, who was descending step by step from the sky above Eternal Square. Chapter 1147. Cultivator Taichu, did you just say that with the spirit qi and resources of this world, you have a chance to enter the soul formation stage in 100 years and break free from the cage of this world? After a long while, the Grand Elder looked at Jiang Tian cautiously and asked with a frown. Why not? Jiang Tian sneered and said, in my previous life, I once traveled the universe and saw the boundless world. In your previous life, everyone was shocked, but it wasn't unacceptable. To others, the idea of reincarnation was simply a fantasy. However, in this sect, 70 to 80% of the people who had mastered this technique had reincarnated once, or even several times. Jiang Tian pointed at the golden lake on his forehead with his right hand. Divine senses burst out and connected with everyone's own divine senses. Boom! A loud sound was heard. Images of the vast universe appeared in everyone's divine senses. Tens of thousands of people saw it at the same time. The depths of the universe were vast and deep with endless stars. The central galaxy was vast and prosperous, and there were many planes. Civilizations flourished and heroes rose together. There were space battleships that surpassed the speed of light, shuttling through stars and planes. There were celestial emperors who filled the sea with a grain of dust. There were divine princes who cut the sun and moon with a blade of grass. There were supreme grand cultivators who could turn the world upside down and collapse space with a flick of their fingers. Suddenly, they saw a demonic beast that could swallow the world. That demonic beast wandered in the cold and lonely universe. Its body was billions of feet long, even larger than a planet. It seemed to have no end. It was opening its incomparably huge mouth and swallowing suns one after another. Suddenly, the demonic beast felt a trace of danger and turned to look at everyone. Its demonic eyes were extremely frightening. However, everyone also saw that the demonic beast felt a trace of danger and was full of fear. It shrank its head and hunched down, and the scales all over its body stood up. Everyone gradually saw a figure appear in the demonic beast's eyes. That figure was billions of feet tall, stepping on the galaxy and carrying the stars on its back. It was Jiang Tian from his previous life. He traveled freely in the universe with a sword and killed demons. In the demonic beast's eyes, a sword aura that was brighter than the galaxy burst out from Jiang Tian's hand. It could easily shatter the stars. The demonic beast was beheaded and then exploded inch by inch with a sorrowful cry, turning into a meteorite of bones and ashes. So this universe is really so vast. The civilization is so prosperous, and immortal Master Jiang was so powerful in his previous life. As it turns out, we and ancient Earth are located in the most desolate places at the edge of the universe. When Jiang Tian retracted his divine sense, countless people were shaken to the core. They felt a deep sense of reverence towards Jiang Tian, as if they were lowly ants meeting a true god. The Changshan sect had powerful spiritual arts. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to tell that this wasn't an illusion, but a memory. The memories of Jiang Tian's previous life. In his previous life, Jiang Tian freely roamed the universe, traversing star fields and galaxies. He fought against immortal emperors and true gods, and he slew demon beasts as if he was cutting grass. Such a Jiang Tian was something they did not dare to imagine or compare to. They did not even have the courage to challenge him. As long as we can win over this person, we will definitely be able to break through the cage of this world and enter the central galaxy. Thinking of this, the Grand Elder's face trembled. He knelt down without hesitation and said loudly, "The Changshan sect is willing to accept perfected immortal Jiang as our sect master. From now on, 100,000 of our sect members will listen to your orders. We will do anything you ask of us. Taichu sect master, I am willing to follow your orders. I will serve you loyally for the rest of my life. I will never betray you." Crown Prince Jihan was the second to kneel down. His face was paler than a corpse that had been dead for 3 days. His body was trembling. At first, he despised Jiang Tian and thought that Jiang Tian didn't deserve to be on the same level as him. After witnessing Tang Linglong's prowess, he treated Jiang Tian as his mortal enemy and provoked him time and time again. However, he never expected Jiang Tian to turn into a dragon as soon as he encountered a storm, ascending to the heavens and defeating the longevity sect leader. Thinking of how he had provoked Jiang Tian many times before, he was so scared that his heart almost exploded. His body was on the verge of collapsing. "Taichu sect master, please show mercy." After that, the chief guard of the mountain gate, Long Zhe, and the other people who had offended Jiang Tian earlier also knelt down and kowtowed repeatedly. More and more people knelt down. But at this time, different voices were heard. "Grand Elder, Kang Taichu is a lowly person from Yanhuang after all, and an ant from Earth. How can we, the fifth orthodoxy of West Earth, lower our heads to him and respect him?" A hall master stood out, filled with righteous indignation, and roared in a loud voice, "If we join hands, we might be able to destroy him." Prejudice was hard to overcome. It was like an unshakable mountain. This hall master was a classic example of prejudice against the people of Yanhuang. No matter how strong Jiang Tian was, he still didn't agree. He wanted tens of thousands of people to attack together and kill Jiang Tian. "Shut up." Hearing this, the Supreme Elder was so frightened that his body trembled. His soul almost left his body, and his heart almost jumped out of his throat. "Are you brainless? Are you trying to kill yourself? Don't drag me down with you. Don't you see Kang Taichu's strength?" Even Ming Rui, who had absorbed the essence of tens of thousands of people, was killed by him. His strength could suppress all golden core cultivators and reach the nascent soul realm. Lowly person from Yanhuang? An ant from Earth? Try saying that again. Jiang Tian sneered and flicked his finger. A vermilion bird true flame of light broke through the void and burned the gold core hall master into ashes. Even his gold core was shattered. "Anyone who doesn't agree, step forward." Jiang Tian scanned the crowd and said loudly. The whole place was dead silent. Everyone was as silent as cicadas in winter. They shivered and did not dare to breathe loudly. No one dared to utter a single provocative word. "Anyone who doesn't agree, go through me first. Come, let me see who dares to jump out." Fairy Luo Mei was elated, and she leaped out and flew to Jiang Tian's side before threatening him in a loud voice. She didn't believe that Jiang Tian could defeat the sect master of the Changshan sect. He was just forced to do so. Now, she was glad that she didn't betray Jiang Tian. Otherwise, she wouldn't even know how she died. The Grand Elder also scanned the crowd and said seriously, "We should follow the last wish of the former sect master, Ming Rui, and worship the sect master of the Taichu sect. Your words are still ringing in my ears. Could it be that you want to rebel?" Under such circumstances, no one dared to disagree with him. Everyone was afraid that if they resisted, they would end up like this elder. They would be burned to the point where not even their bones remained, dying without a complete corpse. After all, they now understood that there was no such thing as happiness in the next life. If they died, their souls would be destroyed and they would return to nothingness. "Greetings, perfected immortal Jiang. May you live as long as the heavens and live as long as the heavens." Instantly, the tens of thousands of people, including tens of thousands of disciples, dropped to their knees and kowtowed repeatedly, their faces filled with fear and reverence. He's become the sect master of the Xianxia sect before he's 30. From now on, he's the sect master of the Fifth Orthodoxy in West Earth. He can talk to the Arhat and be on par with the sect masters. If this news spreads, it will definitely cause a huge uproar in West Earth. Countless people looked at Jiang Tian's tall and majestic back with admiration. They couldn't calm down. Although they couldn't, they yearned for it. Long Zhe, Extreme Han, you have offended the sect master of the Taichu sect. According to the sect rules, you should be punished. Let's destroy their souls. Suddenly, the Supreme Elder stood up and shouted in a dignified manner. Since it's our first offense, please forgive us this time. We won't do it again in the future. Please show mercy, sect master. Extreme Han, Long Zhe, and the others were so scared that their souls almost left their bodies. They knelt and trembled, almost crying out loud. Forget it. Jiang Tian shook his head softly. A small golden core like Extreme Han was like an ant. If Jiang Tian wanted to kill him, he could do so with a flick of his finger. How was it worth it for him to attack alone now? Long Zhe, you offended the sect master in front of the mountain gate. The sect master is merciful and didn't kill you, but you can't avoid punishment. Now, you'll be stripped of all your duties and you'll be an outer sect servant disciple. Do you understand? The Grand Elder shouted. I understand. I know my mistake. Thank you for not killing me, sect master of the Taichu sect. Long Zhe trembled with gratitude. Tang Linglong and the others were enlightened when they saw that. That was what it meant to be respected with strength. That was what it meant to have the strongest fist. Back then, Long Zhe was arrogant and didn't care about what he said. But now, he was kneeling in front of Jiang Tian and wagging his tail like a dog. Extreme Han. You jumped the highest during the battle just now. You kept speaking rudely. Now, I'll take away your golden core and see what happens next. The Grand Elder was very dignified. He reached out and grabbed, freezing Extreme Han's body. As Crown Prince Extreme Han screamed miserably, he grabbed his blood-stained golden core from his dantian. Thank you for not killing me, sect master of the Taichu sect. I'll remember this lesson. A bitter smile appeared on Crown Prince Extreme Han's face. He was in so much pain that he wanted to die, but he still kowtowed. His aura suddenly decreased and he became a foundation establishment cultivator instantly. His aura was extremely weak. Jiang Tian watched from the side. He knew that the Grand Elder was doing it on purpose for him to see. He was also representing the older generation of the Xianxia sect. However, he let it be. After all, the Xianxia sect was still useful to him. This was the Fifth Orthodoxy of West Earth after all. There were many golden core and foundation establishment cultivators. If the experts of the ruins of immortality invaded one day, this place would be an important fortress. In the next few years, the ruins of immortality and the multidimensional worlds will be the greatest threat. Jiang Tian sighed in his heart. The universe is boundless and the star ocean is vast. There are too many opponents hiding in the dark. I have to build a strong cultivation civilization. It's too difficult to fight alone. Everyone please rise. Withdrawing his thoughts, Jiang Tian's expression was neither sad nor happy. He stretched out his hands and made a gesture in the air. He had the demeanor of a great sex master. He's become the sect master of the Xianxia sect. From now on, the entire north region is his. In the crowd, Mao Bilian finally came to her senses. She couldn't believe it, as if she had seen a ghost. Her face turned pale and a strong sense of regret surged in her heart. Before this, she had offended Jiang Tian repeatedly because of racial prejudice. If she had a good relationship with him, she would have enjoyed endless benefits like her sister. He did it. He really did it. The tragic history of the sacred children and sacred girls, the tragic competition and the feast of blood, is over. There will be no more deaths. Mao Hongdai mumbled to herself with tears in her eyes. Her charming face was full of respect and admiration, like a little fangirl who had seen her idol. He really defeated Ming Rui and became the sect master of the Changshan sect. Fan Xiuzhu looked up and stared at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Li Wuji and the others also felt as if they were dreaming. Only Tang Linglong crossed her arms and straightened her back. She felt proud and smiled proudly. I've said it before, my master is omnipotent. The Changshan sect is nothing. Chapter 1148. Yi Karen and Lady Wu were deeply shocked. They mumbled, omnipotent? That's a bit exaggerated, but at least he can kill deities. In their eyes, the overlords of the other worlds were high and untouchable, just like deities. But now, Jiang Tian had killed Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changshan sect. A seed of confidence had been planted in their hearts, igniting the flames of war. Sush, sush. Jiang Tian flew over and landed next to Mao Hongdai. He smiled and said, I told you that I would protect you, didn't I? Brother Tai Chu, you scared me. Mao Hongdai hugged Jiang Tian's arm and cried, venting the fear in her heart. I've reached the golden core level a long time ago. Besides, I have 4 divine bodies to share the burden, which is equivalent to 4 transcendent grade golden cores. Jiang Tian laughed and said, I only suppressed my cultivation to build a supreme divine grade golden core. If I don't want to suppress it, I can break free immediately and the entire West Earth will tremble under my feet. Hearing this, Mao Hongdai stopped crying and smiled. Isn't Jiang Taichu being too arrogant by saying this? Hearing those words, Fairy Luo Mei lightly shook her head and frowned. She admitted that Jiang Tian's strength was indeed earth-shattering when he unleashed his power. But Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changshan sect, was only ranked 5th on the overlord's list of West Earth. Some people even said that she was only ranked 10th. But in West Earth, apart from the Changshan sect, there were also the 4 major orthodoxies led by the Golden Rock Temple. The strength of these peerless great sect's leaders was unfathomable. Jiang Tian might not be able to compare with them. Besides, there were also some living fossils who had been hiding. If they came out, they would cause a huge commotion. In her opinion, Jiang Tian's words sounded a bit arrogant and conceited. Actually, when Jiang Tian said that, many people around lowered their heads to hide the suspicion in their eyes. All of this could not escape Jiang Tian's divine sense, but Jiang Tian was too lazy to explain. He glanced at the Supreme Elder and the others and said, All right, Supreme Elder, there are some things that we should discuss. Lord Sect Leader. The Grand Elder nodded repeatedly and hurriedly bowed. He was incomparably respectful as he followed Jiang Tian's footsteps. Soon, accompanied by the Supreme Elder, Jiang Tian and his companions went to check the treasure hall in the depths of the Changshan sect. Jiang Tian's habit had always been to loot as much as he could after defeating an orthodoxy. Otherwise, wouldn't all their efforts have been in vain, and they would return empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain? This temple of treasures was more than 10,000 feet tall, and the first floor was already 5 miles wide. It was ridiculously extravagant. It turned out that the entire mountain peak had been hollowed out and built. On the inner walls, there were numerous stone rooms densely packed together, giving off a majestic aura. At this moment, they stood in the astonishingly large temple of treasures. Everyone felt like they were a few ants in a mirror. The dark stone walls were shining with a metallic luster and emitting a heavy and gloomy aura. Streaks of light flowed endlessly like mercury. Countless wooden shelves of different sizes were placed in each of the huge stone rooms. There were scrolls, cultivation methods, medicine, spirit stones, dharma treasures, and divine weapons piled up like mountains. There were too many to count. Every one of them was extraordinary. If they were brought to the Earth world, the powerhouses would be so shocked that their eyes would pop out. A peerless sect, as expected of a peerless sect. The cultivation resources in this dimension are too abundant. Li Wuji was shocked. The Kunlun sect was the well-deserved #1 orthodoxy in Huaxia before the rise of the Tianqing school. It had a profound foundation and countless dharma treasures and resources. But at this moment, compared to the Changshan sect, Li Wuji felt that the Kunlun sect was just like a beggar on the street. The dimensional worlds were all fragments of the ancient earth. The present Earth is the foundation of all the dimensional worlds. Jiang Tian smiled and said, even though a lot of spirit chi was taken away when the ancient Earth collapsed, more than half of the spirit chi on Earth today is still present. If you and I restore the spirit chi on Earth, the Earth will become a cultivation sacred ground that surpasses Westland and even the ruins of deity. Yes. Li Wuji nodded and said that he was willing to be Jiang Tian's subordinate. Jiang Tian chuckled. He didn't care whether he was sincere or not. In his opinion, it was fine as long as Li Wuji could be persuaded. If he still insisted on doing things his own way, he would just kill him. At this time, the Grand Elder had already flown tens of thousands of meters to the top of the temple. He waved his hand and his essence chi turned into a palm. He took a stone box and landed in front of Jiang Tian. Master of the Taichu sect, all the spirit chi seeds of our sect are in this box. The Grand Elder respectfully presented it with both hands. Jiang Tian snapped his fingers and the lid of the stone box jumped up. A total of 4 spirit chi recovery seeds appeared in Jiang Tian's eyes. These spiritual energy recovery seeds were all the size of a fist. They were neither stone nor wood and looked ordinary. However, there was extremely rich spiritual energy rotating inside them. They were like clouds filled with mist. They're even more powerful than the spirit chi recovery seeds in heavenly state. They're amazing seeds. Jiang Tian scanned them with his immortal will and immediately became excited. What rich spirit chi! At the side, Li Wuji took a deep breath with an intoxicated look on his face. His eyes were filled with envy, and he really wanted to go up and touch her like a fly rubbing its hands. He even had a feeling. Any one of the seeds could surpass the total amount of spirit chi in the Kunlun sect's dimension world. They could create another top sect on Earth. In fact, this was not an illusion. These world-shocking seeds were indeed extraordinary. The spirit chi seed that Jiang Tian obtained in Star World was only the size of a date pit. The 3 seeds in heavenly state were only the size of chicken eggs. Not only were they smaller, but their spirit chi was also not as condensed and pure as these amazing seeds. It could be said that any one of these 4 amazing seeds would surpass the total amount of spirit chi in the 4 seeds that Jiang Tian had obtained before. The spirit chi contained in them was as vast as the sea and as heavy as the mountains. If any one of them was taken out and absorbed slowly, at least 3 golden core cultivators would be born. With these 4 world-shaking seeds, in addition to the previous 3, we can basically trigger the Star Destroyer, fill the empty physiques of Qing'er and my baby daughter, and realize the recovery of the spiritual energy of the entire Earth. Jiang Tian's face showed a touch of relief. He was so excited that his hands were trembling. His hanging heart finally calmed down. However, once the spirit chi on Earth is recovered, Earth will become a delicious cake in the eyes of the cultivators in the ruins of immortality and many other dimensions worlds. Jiang Tian put the 4 seeds into the sky-swallowing gourd, but a trace of seriousness gradually appeared on his face. The ruins of immortality is very far away from Earth. Without a soul formation cultivator, one can't control space and cross it in an instant. Even if a nascent soul cultivator uses the nascent soul leaving body technique to descend, it will still take several years. But what if they have secret space techniques to force their way through? Or there are remnants of ancient transmission arrays on Earth. In this way, the time they take to arrive on Earth will be greatly reduced. I have 4 divine bodies now, which are equal to 4 golden core cultivators of the supreme grade or the sacred grade. It won't be a problem for me to deal with nascent soul cultivators. However, if I run into a nascent soul cultivator, it will be quite difficult and even dangerous. God knows if there are nascent soul cultivators or soul formation cultivators in the ruins of immortality. The only thing I can do now is to form as many divine bodies as possible and form a divine-grade golden core. Jiang Tian's face showed a trace of determination as he thought about it. By then, I won't be afraid even if I run into a real nascent soul cultivator. Also, with the experience I've accumulated in my previous life, I can at least have a chance to survive if I run into a soul formation cultivator. Even in the central galaxy, where the cultivation civilization flourished, the cultivation sects had always divided the golden core into 3 levels and 9 grades. But above that, there were even more powerful and rare golden cores: the supreme grade, the sacred grade, and the deity grade. A supreme grade golden core was already very rare. A sacred grade and deity grade golden core was even rarer. Once it appeared, it would shock the world. Even a sacred grade golden core could only be refined by the heirs of the supreme sects, the saints of the immortal sacred grounds, or the elites with special bloodlines. They could only be refined with the help of miraculous materials and great luck. Once a deity-grade golden core was formed, it would be extremely powerful. A deity-grade golden core could kill a nascent soul cultivator, and a divine-grade golden core. In the universe, among the many sects and inheritances in the billions of planets, it had only been a legend for billions of years. It was said that there might not even be a single golden core in the universe. If Jiang Tian hadn't gone beyond the deity realm and reached the divine realm in his previous life and was only one step away from the capital of Hongmeng, he wouldn't even have dared to think about a divine-grade golden core. As long as I can form a divine-grade golden core, even if I'm still on Earth, I'll be able to defeat the divine princes, deity fetuses, saintesses, and fairies in the most advanced civilizations in the universe. I'll be able to overlook the human world, billions of planets, and the endless universe. Jiang Tian had 4 divine bodies at the moment, but he had already started to plan for a more distant future. Now, among the 5 elemental constitutions, only the Earth divine body hasn't been formed yet. I hope the Changshan sect won't let me down. Jiang Tian heaved a sigh and his heart was filled with anticipation. Boundless divine sense surged out from the bottom to the top, quickly sweeping through the huge temple floor by floor. Chapter 1149. 5-Colored Muddy Soil. This soil is very good, but it's mostly used for refining weapons, building arrays, and refining divine bodies. Fire-resistant soil. This soil can absorb spirit energy and block fire, but its toughness and attack power are far from enough. Green phosphorescent soil? I didn't expect there to be such a thing in West Earth. This is a kind of phosphorescent soil made from the bones of ancient demonic beasts. It's extremely dark and can be used to corrupt thunder-type treasures. It can be used by ghost cultivators or fiendish cultivators. 1 Buddha dispersing soil can be refined into a Buddha pill. After taking it, one's mind will be peaceful, and one's heart will be like a dry well. It can suppress one's inner demons and is also very extraordinary. However, it can't be used to refine divine bodies. It's not tough enough. Mountain drilling drill. Interesting, this kind of earth-type treasure has vast and powerful dermic powers. It can drill into the ground and even penetrate tens of thousands of meters. This is very useful to me. I can use it to find Star Destroyer, but it can't be used to refine earth-type divine bodies. Jiang Tian's divine senses were extremely dense and vast, and he scanned very quickly. In less than 10 minutes, he had scanned through thousands of chambers and countless magical equipment. It could be said that the Changshan sect's treasures were terrifying. The Changshan sect was originally a 1,000-year-old orthodoxy. 500 years ago, Ming Rui revived the Changshan sect and swept through the northern territory, plundering as much as possible. The treasures they obtained were probably more valuable than the stellar sky domain, heavenly state, and earth domain combined. There were also a lot of earth-type materials which could be used to refine weapons, refine pills, or even make weapons. However, there was nothing that could be used to refine body constitutions, especially divine bodies. As his vast divine senses scanned higher and higher, Jiang Tian's face became more and more ugly, and his heart became heavier and heavier. Could it be that he was so unlucky that he couldn't find the materials to refine earth-type divine bodies after working so hard to conquer the Changshan sect? If it weren't for the threat of the ruins of immortality, Jiang Tian wouldn't mind cultivating slowly. However, the ruins of immortality were like tigers watching their prey, and Jiang Tian couldn't be carefree and leisurely. Swish! When his divine senses scanned the dome of the treasure palace, Jiang Tian was completely depressed. Fuck you, You don't even have a suitable earth-type material. The longevity sect is too poor. Jiang Tian's face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Taichu sect master, there's no need to rush. Seeing Jiang Tian's gloomy face, the Supreme Elder was so scared that he knelt on the ground and said with a trembling voice, "We can inform the 4 countries of the northern border and the cities to offer up all of their Earth-type magical equipment. Whitebeard, send someone to do it immediately. But you have to negotiate and buy or exchange, don't kill." Jiang Tian nodded, his face gloomy. Jiang Tian had previously asked for the Grand Elder's name, but the names in West Earth were too long, and they were in Sanskrit. Jiang Tian directly gave him the name Whitebeard, which suited his characteristics. The white-bearded Grand Elder immediately gave the order. A hall master walked out and announced the order. The Deathless Hierarch's order had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Most likely, the entire northern realm, the 4 great nations, the numerous cities, and the boundless lands would be turned upside down. Not a single one of them would be left unturned. Sect Master, why don't I go to the sects in the other 3 realms? Maybe I'll find some clues. Fairy Luo Mei also suggested. The world of West Earth was vast and had many factions. There were countless sects and clans. Many of the sects had a long history and many secrets. Even in the northern border, which was controlled by the longevity sect, no one dared to say that they had found everything, not to mention the other 3 realms. You can give it a try. Jiang Tian shook his head softly. There was worry in his eyes as he remained silent. He had already thought about it. There were only a few materials that could be used to refine an earth-type divine body, such as galaxy crystal sand, underworld jade soil, chaotic Taoist stones, and deity bone fossils. However, Jiang Tian had described these materials and asked them to search for them. Even if he took out ready-made materials and placed them in front of everyone, they might not be able to recognize them, let alone recognize them. Jiang Tian's face was full of disappointment as he sighed. He was about to leave the temple when his divine consciousness suddenly moved. He said in surprise, "There's a basement in this temple? That basement is filled with materials that can't be used or have unknown origins and uses." The white-bearded Grand Elder smiled bitterly. What he meant was that those things had been discarded after many tests. There was no need to look at them anymore. "Open it. Let me siege," Jiang Tian insisted. The Grand Elder did not dare to delay. He quickly inserted the array pestle, twisted it left and right, and formed a hand seal. He chanted a loud incantation to open the array foundation. Suddenly, the array patterns on the ground and the inner walls of the temple emitted thousands of rays of light. On the ground, the bricks seemed to be alive. They automatically folded, shrank, and piled up, revealing a 10-meter wide hole with stairs leading to the underground. The ceiling and the walls on both sides of the passage were embedded with night pearls the size of chicken eggs, emitting a gentle light. This doesn't seem to be a simple basement. It seems that people often go inch. Tang Linglong followed Jiang Tian down and muttered to herself in surprise. Reporting to fellow cultivator Linglong, the array foundation of this temple is under the basement. It also needs maintenance and repair on a daily basis. The Grand Elder smiled apologetically and bowed slightly, saying respectfully. He was at the peak of the Golden Core realm, while Tang Linglong was only at the mid-stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. In the sect, she could not even be a hall master and could only be regarded as an elite disciple. But it was different now. Tang Linglong was Jiang Tian's disciple, which was equivalent to the sect master's personal disciple. She had more power than an elder. How could he dare to offend her? Wow, even the Grand Elder of the Changshan sect bowed to me. I heard that he is Ming Rui's martial uncle. Tang Linglong shook her head and swayed her head. She was very pleased with herself. No wonder Master liked to conquer the dimensional worlds. It turned out that it was so satisfying to trample the so-called immortals under his feet. After dozens of meters, they arrived at the basement, but found nothing strange. There was only yellow sand on the ground. The yellow sand was unusually crystalline and fine. There was not a single stone in the yellow sand, not even a fingernail-sized stone. Strange. Tang Linglong stepped on the yellow sand with a surprised look on her face. She asked, "Why are there no footprints? These sand are very heavy. Even a foundation establishment realm expert can't pick up a single grains." The Grand Elder smiled bitterly. Tang Linglong snorted coldly. She unleashed her primordial qi and stomped down. When she came to West Earth, her cultivation had also risen. Although she couldn't crush mountains or break the earth like Jiang Tian could, at the very least, it wouldn't be a problem for her to shatter rocks and collapse houses. However, at this moment, when she stomped down heavily, the sand did not move at all. It was silent. Strange. But I don't believe in you. Tang Linglong frowned and unleashed her blazing bone sword. Bush. These bone swords came from the ancestor of the Holy Light clan, Blazing Bone. They were carefully refined by Jiang Tian and contained the power of the Holy Light fire. There was nothing they could not burn. Before this, when Tang Linglong had just obtained them, she had used them to split 3 tanks. One could imagine how sharp they were. However, at this moment, the blazing bone sword had a grain of sand burned and was sent flying backward. Damn, that's too strange. Tang Linglong was shocked. She hurriedly activated her consciousness and put the blazing bone sword back into the sword case. Cold sweat was already dripping down. On the other hand, Jiang Tian's face was filled with ecstasy. He muttered, "Galaxy crystal sand, this is galaxy crystal sand. I didn't expect that there's actually a stretch of galaxy crystal sand here, and the quantity is so much." Galaxy crystal sand, what is that? Everyone had a strange expression. It's so heavy. Li Wuji bent down and tried to grab a handful of yellow sand, but he couldn't put his fingers in it, let alone lift it up. Each grain of yellow sand was surprisingly heavy. The weight of a handful of yellow sand was comparable to that of a 1,000-feet-tall mountain. Jiang Tian squatted down and grabbed a handful of yellow sand. His essence qi burst out and he activated his divine body. His body seemed to be made of iron. Only then did he lift a handful of yellow sand. This is not ordinary yellow sand. It's a heavenly material. No, it's even a divine material. It's extremely powerful. Jiang Tian's eyes were filled with ecstasy as he let go of the sand. The yellow sand flowed down one by one and smashed into the sand river, immediately producing a thunderous rumbling sound. A Dharma artifact? Otherwise, why is it so heavy? Everyone was surprised. The white-bearded man sighed regretfully. Ming Rui and the previous sect masters used to say that this is a very magical and powerful material. Unfortunately, no one could activate it. Over time, everyone gave up and thought that this yellow sand might just be a foreign object. You can't control it, right? Jiang Tian left a grain of sand in his hand and chuckled. He activated the spirit art of creation and injected a vast amount of Dharma power into it. Instantly, the speck of yellow sand flew into the air, growing larger and larger as it whizzed through the air. In the blink of an eye, it had grown to the size of about 10 acres. As it spun through the air, it caused friction with the air, causing a deafening sound to ring out. The yellow sand was still expanding. Clang. It penetrated a corner of the basement and made the roof change shape. The ground bulged and shook violently as if the entire temple was about to collapse. As Jiang Tian used up the spirit art of creation, the giant rock turned into yellow sand and fell down. Everyone was dumbfounded. Their hearts were shaken as they looked at the yellow sand. There were countless grains of yellow sand. There were probably hundreds of millions of them. If every single one of them was as big as the previous one, how terrifying would their weight and destructive power be? Galaxy crystal sand. It's beyond the category of heavenly material. It's close to a divine material, or at least a quasi-divine material. Looking at the endless yellow sand around him, Jiang Tian's face was filled with ecstasy as he explained. When the deity emperors create a big world, they can use a grain of sand as the foundation and use monstrous Dharma power to create a planet or a continent. This pile of yellow sand can form a galaxy or a star region. As soon as he said that, everyone was stunned and almost fell to the ground. Chapter 1150. Everyone felt like they were listening to a heavenly book when they heard that. He was able to use his monstrous chi to create billions of stars, construct a galaxy, and open up his own world. Was he still human? He was a real deity. Sect master of the Taichu sect, can the yellow sand be used as materials for your supreme earth-type divine body? Supreme Elder Whitebeard asked expectantly. He was terrified and worried at the moment. Jiang Tian was resolute, vicious and merciless. If they couldn't find suitable materials and got angry, who knew how many people would be buried with him? Of course. This crystal sand can even create a galaxy, so why can't it create a divine body? Tang Linglong's face was filled with joy, feeling happy for Jiang Tian. It can. Jiang Tian squinted his eyes and scanned the surroundings with his soul consciousness. He smiled and said, but the galaxy crystal sand doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's born from the chaotic source rock. If we can find the chaotic source rock, we can create the ultimate earth-type divine body. What? There's an even stronger material? Everyone was shocked to the extreme. Get out. This place isn't safe anymore. Jiang Tian's expression became even more serious. Yes, sect master. No one dared to be negligent and retreated one after another. When Jiang Tian released his divine will to search around, immediately, a vast earth-type energy flowed out of the yellow sand and pressed down. Thousands upon thousands of thick earth chi flowed, surged, rubbed against each other, and swept across the basement. It was as if the basement was going to explode. On top of it, the entire 1,000-foot-tall palace of treasures was trembling. The ground was shaking and the mountains were shaking. Many formation runes flickered violently before it stabilized. The earth-type energy was much more powerful than the spirit chi of the earth veins. It was like thousands of mountains falling together, a giant meteorite or endless lava flowing. One of them could crush a foundation establishment overlord and severely injure a golden core overlord. Jiang Tian quickly retracted his divine will. Immediately, the Star River crystal sand returned to silence, and the thick earth aura quickly withdrew. These Milky Way crystal sand naturally contained a great amount of magic power and also had spirituality. Once it was probed by one's divine sense, it would immediately swell and counterattack. No wonder the Milky Way crystal sand was abandoned by the previous sect masters and placed in the basement. They won't be able to control it at all, and they might even be suppressed to the point of death. Jiang Tian's expression changed slightly, and his eyes narrowed. An extremely small soul devourer burst forth, slowly searching to avoid being devoured. Finally, Jiang Tian's soul devourer consciousness touched a gigantic stone cauldron several hundred feet underground. Even Jiang Tian would find it difficult to move this yellow sand. Jiang Tian carefully probed with his divine sense and discovered that the gravel was slowly flowing like water. And the source of this sand flow was this stone cauldron. This stone cauldron had 3 legs and 2 handles. If one did not look at it carefully, they would believe that it was just a strangely shaped stone. It was rugged, mottled, uneven, and covered in moss and warts. It was simple and primitive to the extreme, and it had experienced countless years. Not only is it a chaos source rock, but it is also in the shape of an ancient cauldron. It's a divine material of heaven and earth. It's definitely a divine material of heaven and earth. Jiang Tian was overjoyed and shocked. Jiang Tian had once dominated all the worlds in his previous life and was only a step away from Hongming's divine capital. He had seen countless treasures of heaven and earth. His horizons could be said to be extraordinary. Even in the central galaxy in the depths of the universe, how many of the treasures in the immortal holy lands of the unparalleled sects could catch his eye, let alone the borderlands of Earth and the surrounding dimensional worlds, where spiritual energy was scarce. But at this moment, seeing this chaos source rock cauldron, Jiang Tian's heart could not help but beat wildly. He was moved and overjoyed. A cauldron, 2 handles, 3 legs. Tao begets 1, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all living things. All living things carry yin and embrace yang. Good. It actually already has Tao laws. Jiang Tian sighed repeatedly with emotion. This chaos source rock cauldron could be said to be an immortal treasure. In the boundless universe, the vast galaxy, and amongst the billions of stardust, one might not be able to be born in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. This stone cauldron was heavy like a myriad of mountains. Every striation on it was very natural and simple, and it was born from heaven and earth. It was suffused with a trace of the chaotic aura of Hongmeng. Jiang Tian immediately sensed its natural Tao, the earth, and thick earth that carried things, and the charm of nourishing a myriad of living things. This subtle feeling was not Jiang Tian's misconception. This thing had boundless magical uses and immeasurable value. If it fell into the hands of a soul transformation realm expert, it could open up a paradise. If it was obtained by an immortal emperor, it could open up a galaxy world. If it was obtained by a soul transformation realm expert of Hongmeng, it could even open up a universe. Once this stone cauldron was born and spread, it would surely be earth-shattering. Not to mention the ruins of immortality and the various multidimensional worlds would make a move to fight for it. Probably even those immortal sects and holy grounds at the center of the universe would be moved and coveted, and they would fight to the death. The aura of the primal chaos source rock was as heavy as a mountain. As a rare immortal item in the world, no one could calmly face it. This primal chaos source rock cauldron and the galaxy crystal sand will definitely allow me to refine the strongest earth-type divine body. It can even allow many divine bodies to reach perfection and condense a fake core. There might even be more. Jiang Tian's eyes were focused as his fingers moved, and he quickly planned. But as the saying goes, a gentleman's wealth is his own ruin. This thing is a rare treasure of heaven and earth. Once it is born, it will definitely attract the attention of the Almighties in the depths of the universe. I need to hide it. In the end, it will become an item of the righteous Tao. Now, I have to think of a divine art that can combine the primal chaos source rock cauldron with my divine body. If he wanted to combine the primal chaos source rock cauldron with a certain divine body, even those immortal sacred grounds and peerless sects in the central galaxy would be at a loss and would have to exhaust all their abilities. Faced with this problem, even the divine sons and fairies of the celestial world and divine world would sigh and be at their wits' end. They might be able to absorb the energy of the galaxy crystal sand and refine it into a Dharma treasure. They would be satisfied and wouldn't dare to ask for more. They would feel very regretful, but they wouldn't have a better idea. This was because this primal chaos source rock cauldron wasn't something they could control. If they wanted to use it and use it freely, they would have to be at least soul formation realm experts. However, Jiang Tian had cultivated for 10,000 years in his previous life and was very experienced. How could he return empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain? He was determined to combine the primal chaos source rock cauldron with his earth-type divine body. Many divine bodies and matching cultivation techniques flashed in his mind. Soon, he chose the most suitable earth-type divine body. Thick earth-winged dragon divine body. Jiang Tian's eyes lit up as he secretly made up his mind. Winged dragon. It had appeared many times in Wuxia legends. It was a dragon with wings, so it was also called flying dragon, winged dragon. The Great Wilderness Sutra in the Classic of Mountains and Seas recorded that the winged dragon had killed Qiyu and Quafu. It went to the south, so it rained a lot there. It was rumored that Qiyu and Quafu were killed by the winged dragon. With a swing of its tail, it could create rivers, and with a sweep of its claws, it could destroy cities and mountains. However, in reality, the winged dragon wasn't just a mythical beast in myths and legends. In the universe, it was also a powerful mythical beast that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the azure dragon, black tortoise, and vermilion bird. In other words, the winged dragon on Earth wasn't a real winged dragon. It was just a strange beast with a trace of the winged dragon's bloodline. The winged dragon, the Earth division of the 5 elements, loved to devour Earth as food. A pure-blooded adult winged dragon was hundreds of millions of feet long and could stretch across the galaxy. It could swallow a continent or a planet with its mouth open. Jiang Tian's plan was to refine a thick earth-winged dragon divine body and then use the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique to refine the primal chaos source rock cauldron into the winged dragon divine body. In this way, the primal chaos source rock would provide the divine body with an endless amount of earth energy. Secondly, it could also hide the energy of the primal chaos source rock cauldron from everyone. Not many people had seen the primal chaos source rock cauldron, and it was very similar to the thick earth energy. Only soul formation grand cultivators with extraordinary knowledge or the divine princes and saintesses of the immortal sacred grounds would be able to tell. After making up his mind, Jiang Tian approached the primal chaos source rock cauldron step by step. Boom! The thick earth energy immediately rose again. The thick earth energy was like a torrent of Shenhuang qi, forming a sandstorm in the sky. Every grain of sand was as heavy as a mountain, and even the void was crushed to pieces, emitting crisp, cracking sounds. Everyone could see that Jiang Tian's clothes were instantly pierced through by the sand and turned into threads. There were even traces of blood on Jiang Tian's skin. That was rare. Jiang Tian had 4 divine bodies at the moment. His body was powerful, and his true essence was much more powerful than that of a normal peak-stage golden core cultivator. Normally, he didn't need to activate them, and there would be astral winds protecting his body. Even a nuclear explosion wouldn't cause any obvious damage to him. But at that moment, Jiang Tian's skin was cracking and bleeding, which showed how terrifying the galaxy crystal sandstorm and the thick earth energy were. Open! Jiang Tian's face turned serious. With a low shout, the gung metal divine body exploded. Golden light formed a screen, blocking out the sand and thick earth aura. The sand and the gung metal true essence rubbed against each other, and there were some sparks, but it couldn't hurt Jiang Tian in the end. The closer he got to the primal chaos source rock cauldron, the heavier the thick earth energy was and the more galaxy crystal sand there were. Those stones were like stars in the sky, flickering with a myriad of colors. Just one of them was enough to crush a foundation establishment cultivator. Jiang Tian moved forward with difficulty. But when he was 10 steps away from the primal chaos source rock cauldron, even with 4 divine bodies, he couldn't withstand it anymore. The primal chaos source rock cauldron was too terrifying. It could already be called the cauldron of Myriad Mountain. The primal chaos energy inside was enough to shake the mountains and flatten the land within a 1,000-mile radius. Its power was comparable to an attack from a soul formation cultivator, which was at the level of destroying the world. Open again. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes and pondered for a moment. Streams of black water spun and formed a black water shield. Together with the gung metal light shield, they blocked the galaxy crystal sand and thick earth energy outside. In the end, Jiang Tian was only 1 step away from the primal chaos source rock cauldron. Jiang Tian's forehead was covered in sweat. He took a deep breath, and the swaying divine tree suddenly exploded. A towering tree grew out from behind him, with green wood spirit qi hanging from its branches and leaves. Rise! After Jiang Tian's shout, the roots of the swaying divine tree went deep underground and went straight for the primal chaos source rock cauldron. Chapter 1151. The galaxy crystal sand was so heavy that any other divine body would have been crushed if they tried to force their way in. But the whirling divine tree was different. It was the tree of creation, the origin tree of a world. It could naturally devour all earth-type aura and energy. It could even be called its nemesis. The aura of the galaxy crystal sand could be instantly absorbed by these roots. The more powerful the aura was, the stronger the roots became. The roots of the whirling divine tree kept absorbing and devouring the aura of the galaxy crystal sand around it, becoming thicker and stronger. They were like dragons drilling into a mountain, crazily growing downwards. Even the roots that were exposed above the ground expanded like balloons, spreading out in all directions and filling up the surrounding area. Rumble! The sandy ground rose high. In the end, a few roots that were thick and large like dragons coiled tightly around the chaotic source cauldron. This galaxy crystal sand is really extraordinary. I only absorbed a few hundred grains, but my whirling divine tree has reached greater success. Its power has increased tenfold. Jiang Tian was shocked, and a hint of ecstasy appeared in the depths of his eyes. At this moment, not only were the roots of the whirling divine tree stronger, but even its branches had become as green as jade. Its leaves had also become more solid and plump. The thread-like aura of the greenwood had already spread into clouds in the air, sprinkling green raindrops, full of vitality. Jiang Tian suppressed his excitement and activated the whirling divine tree. Rumble! Earth-shattering sounds could be heard as the roots curled and pulled the chaos source rock out. Every grain of galaxy crystal sand was incomparably heavy. Countless grains of galaxy crystal sand were pulled and flowed, creating a series of loud noises. It was as if an earthquake had erupted, tens of thousands of mountains had collapsed, and countless boulders had rolled down. At this moment, the area within 100 miles of Wanshui Mountain trembled violently. The thick qi of earth was pushed out, and the clouds on the mountain were stirred up into rings of clouds, spreading out continuously. 10 miles, 100 miles, they were pushed out continuously. This time, the entire Changshan sect was alarmed. It was so loud that it could be heard all over Skylight. What's going on? Such a loud noise, even the Wanshui Mountain is shaking. Is this the descent of a god? How terrifying! Tens of thousands of people in the longevity sect, from the elders and hall masters to the servants and servants, all looked at the crumbling treasure vault with trembling eyes. Hundreds of millions of people in Skylight, including the cultivators from the sects and families and the civilians in the mortal cities, were all watching the battle in awe. This is the might of Xing Tu, the new leader of the longevity sect. He's like a true god, surpassing a true god. Immediately, countless people kowtowed, loudly shouting the name of Star Slaughter sect leader, their minds trembling. At the instant Jiang Tian stretched out his hand to touch the chaotic origin stone, a swish resounded out as the stellar crystal sand that was revolving in the surroundings swiftly settled down while the surging and surging aura of primordial chaos was swiftly restrained and returned to silence. Jiang Tian let out a long sigh of relief. The primordial chaos aura was too terrifying. If it continued to wreak havoc like this, even with his strength, he would have no choice but to retreat. Jiang Tian grabbed it with both hands and slowly raised the primal chaos source stone. Through the primordial chaos aura, one could see that the primal chaos source stone seemed to have formed a world of its own. The lumps and bumps were like mountains, the valleys and depressions were like rivers and basins, and the moss-like existences were actually ancient trees and strange spirit trees upon closer inspection. This primal chaos source stone was a supreme-grade divine material that was completely superior to heavenly materials and deity materials. This stone was formed entirely by the primordial chaos aura of Hongmeng. This primordial chaos aura of Hongmeng was extremely rare. Sometimes it was formed naturally, sometimes it was formed with Dharma power when the Hongmeng god created a world. A wisp of energy could kill a golden core cultivator and severely injure a soul formation cultivator. For example, the heaven-mending stone, the mysterious yellow stone, the five-colored stone, the seven-colored stone, and the other famous wondrous stones in the cultivation world, and even the immortal world and the god world, were far too inferior compared to the heaven-mending stone. With this primal chaos source stone, I can finally create the fifth divine body. A trace of joy appeared on Jiang Tian's face. He placed the primal chaos source stone cauldron on the ground and sat down cross-legged. I am going to cultivate in seclusion. Do not disturb me even if the sky falls and the earth sinks. Otherwise die. Jiang Tian transmitted his voice using his divine sense. Many of the Changshan sect's upper echelons heard it clearly. They were so shocked that their faces turned pale and they hurriedly kowtowed. In addition, in the northern region, those forces that once looked down on me and looked down on me are all suppressed. If they were loyal and of great use, they could be kept. If they are stubborn and stubborn, get rid of them. Jiang Tian transmitted his voice again. We will obey the sect master's decree. Grand Elder Whitebeard, Fairy Luo Mei and the other upper echelons all kowtowed. As for Jiang Tian, after leaving a few restrictions around him, he sat cross-legged on the galaxy crystal sand and began to cultivate. The endless galaxy crystal sand became his resources. only to see. As Jiang Tian circulated the 9 transformations transcendental divine mystery art, the primal chaos source stone and endless galaxy crystal sand began to emit earth elemental aura. Streaks of pale yellow light poured into Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian's dantian was like a deep black hole that began to crazily devour the aura like a whale sucking in water. Once the earth elemental aura entered, it immediately turned into earth elemental true essence and covered the dantian in layers. Earth elemental true essence was beneficial to all living things. Earth was the foundation of all living things. It made his dantian even denser and more fertile. It began to nourish the whirling divine tree, the Xianxia azure dragon, and the gung metal divine body. The gung metal divine body was even showing signs of reaching perfection and peak. A fake core was slowly forming in his body. This primal chaos source stone is indeed extraordinary. I have many divine bodies now and they are far superior to ordinary physiques. It's like comparing a supercar to a tricycle. But if I want to nourish my divine body, I need more spirit chi. It's like using a higher grade of gasoline. Ordinary spirit chi is sometimes useless. And this primal chaos source stone can provide an endless amount of energy to realize the limit of strengthening and sublimation of my divine body, Jiang Tian thought in his heart. He executed the myriad creation spirit art and shrunk the primal chaos source stone, gently activating it with his magic power. Instantly, as if the universe had exploded, a vast amount of energy surged towards Jiang Tian's dantian, setting off raging waves. Numerous illusory stars appeared in the air above his dantian. The earth extended, becoming vast and heavy. Strange peaks rose, forming continuous mountains and fertile plains. The primal chaos source stone was an earth elemental divine material. It had boundless earth elemental aura. Not only could it give birth to the earth and mountains, but it could also give birth to a sky full of stars. At this moment, it was unknown how much of the aura of the beginning of chaos was condensed in the primal chaos source stone. If it was in the hands of a soul formation expert, it could even evolve into a small world. At this moment, even with the support of 4 divine bodies, Jiang Tian was a little unable to bear it. It was as if his dantian was about to be crushed and his bones were about to shatter. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Jiang Tian took a deep breath and steadied his mind. He began to refine the primal chaos source stone's aura drop by drop, absorbing it frantically. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops. Presently, the aged gold, mystic water, vermilion bird flame, and whirling azure wood within Jiang Tian's body, coupled with the chaotic origin rock on the outside, were equivalent to having the 5 elements complete. They circulated ceaselessly and endlessly, and they'd attained a miraculous balance. Between heaven and earth, there were 5 types of powerful yuan qi. They were known as the connate 5 virtues. This time, it was not only the earth elemental aura in Jiang Tian's body that increased, but the other 4 divine bodies were also nourished and advanced to the limit. Within Jiang Tian's dantian, the aged metal, mystic water, azure dragon, dancing vermilion bird, and radiant vermilion bird were constantly being nourished and grew rapidly. While Jiang Tian was cultivating in seclusion, the entire northern region was shaken and stirred up a bloody storm. Windblade City, City Lord Residence. In the past few days, City Lord Feng Xiaohai's face had been dark and gloomy. He was gritting his teeth in hatred. His son, Feng Badian, had actually been killed by a Yan Huang tribe member, the Star Butcher. He could not accept this. Bastard! Fuck you, Star Butcher. How dare you kill my beloved son? I will tear you to pieces and eat your flesh. Feng Xiaohai was drunk. He gritted his teeth and his eyes were red. A lowly Yan Huang tribe member actually dares to kill my son? Even if you enter the longevity sect, I will take revenge. His father, Feng Duoshan, was a guest elder and had a great influence in the longevity sect. Moreover, Windblade City had also offered many natural treasures to the longevity sect. Ming Rui would not pursue the matter of killing the Star Butcher. And that Mao Bohu, he is obviously allowing him to commit murder. How dare he take in a Yan Huang tribe member? I will not let him go. Gather the troops and attack lush forest city. I will personally lead the troops and massacre the city. With the suppression of the longevity sect, will he dare to resist? His command had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Instantly, the entire city was filled with scouts. Tens of thousands of troops gathered. Their blades were cold and their armor shone. Their killing intent was boiling. Even the cultivators from the famous mountains around the city came to help. Feng Xiaohai roared to the sky, his killing intent raging. Mobilize all troops and hunt down the Yan Huang tribe members. Regardless of gender, age, kill them all on the spot. I will kill 1,000,000 Yan Huang tribe members to accompany my son. Star Butcher, fuck your mother. How dare you kill my son? I can't kill you with my own hands, but can I kill your tribe members? Who do you think you are? You are just an ant, not the longevity sect leader. Also, offer 10 million crystal bulbs worth of refining materials to the longevity sect. Support the longevity sect to break through space and attack Earth. After issuing the orders one by one, the anger in his heart subsided slightly. He stood up, dressed neatly, and was about to go to lush forest city to kill some Yan Huang tribe members to vent his anger. He heard that lush forest city had become a shelter for the Yan Huang tribe refugees. Hundreds of thousands of people had gathered. This time, he would kill to his heart's content. At this moment, a guard hurriedly rushed in and reported, "City Lord, Fairy Luo Mei has come to visit." Hearing this, Feng Xiaohai was shocked. He quickly went to greet her and said respectfully, "Feng Xiaohai, the City Lord of Windblade City, greets the Special Envoy. May I know what instructions the Special Envoy has for me?" Accompanied by dozens of experts, Fairy Luo Mei arrived in a treasure carriage. She floated like a fairy and her face was cold. Seeing Feng Xiaohai, she said plainly, "There are a few things for you. First, the new sect leader Jiang, is about to ascend to the throne. Prepare a congratulatory gift. The new sect leader may summon you at any time." What? Feng Xiaohai was shocked. What was going on? His father, Feng Doshan, was well informed and often informed him about the affairs of the longevity sect. Why didn't he know about such a big thing? Chapter 1152. Feng Xiaohai quickly bowed and said, "Congratulations to the new sect leader Jiang. May he live a long and prosperous life. Don't worry, Fairy Luo Mei. I'll do my best." Fairy Luo Mei looked around and asked, "You're preparing troops. Are you going to do something?" Feng Xiaohai said flatteringly, "I heard that Maolin City's Mao Bohu disobeyed the orders of the Changsheng sect and took in tens of thousands of Yan Huang tribesmen. I'm going to kill them." Fairy Luo Mei frowned, but before she could say anything, Feng Xiaohai asked excitedly, "Fairy Luo Mei, you recommended Star Protector Immortal II of the Mao family to the Changsheng sect. Is he dead? You want Star Slaughter to die?" Fairy Luo Mei asked with a cold smile and squinted her eyes. "Fairy Luo Mei, don't misunderstand. I have no problem with you and respect you very much. But this kid killed my son. How can I let him go?" Seeing her displeased expression, Feng Xiaohai hurriedly chuckled and said with an expectant face, "My father plans to find an elite outer sect disciple to challenge Star Slaughter on the day of the competition. I think that Ant Star Slaughter is already dead." He laughed sinisterly. "Fairy Luo Mei, since this kid is a Yan Huang tribesman, no matter how high his cultivation is, he's still a troublemaker." He laughed and said with satisfaction, "He's dead. It's better for him to die cleanly so that Cult Master Jiang won't find out. If he continues to blame you, it won't be good for you. You don't have to thank me. Come. I've prepared some wine. Let's have a drink." Fairy Luo Mei shook her head and said mockingly, "Feng Xiaohai, I really don't know how an idiot like you became a city lord. This family was full of idiots and idiots. Feng Bat-in was reckless and brainless during the scripture preaching ceremony on Golden Lotus Mountain. But now it seemed like this was inherited. It's based on strength." Feng Xiaohai laughed and thought to himself, "My old man is a guest elder. I'm not inferior to you, Fairy Luo Mei. One will drink later." Fairy Luo Mei said coldly, I've said that I have some news to tell you. I'm not done yet. Fairy, please speak. The second piece of news is that your father, Feng Duoshan, has been sacrificed in the grand competition of the sex. My condolences. What? Feng Xiaohai was stunned. He couldn't believe it. His father was a golden core true immortal, and as a guest elder, he didn't need to participate in the sex grand competition. How could he have died? Did you fight side by side with this new cult master Jiang, challenging the previous cult master Ming Rui and dying? He had died a worthy death. He died tragically and gloriously. This is the glory of our Feng family and the entire Windblade city. After a long while, Feng Xiaohai finally came back to his senses. He let out a long sigh and said with reddened eyes. Fairy Luo Mei declined to comment. Feng Xiaohai broke into a smile and said expectantly, presumably, Sect Master Jiang will also thank me heavily and reward me, right? No, he failed to challenge Cult Master Jiang and was killed. Fairy Luo Mei said mockingly. This, Feng Xiaohai was greatly surprised, and then his heart ached and he was extremely depressed. Without a backer, it would be difficult for him to survive in the future. According to the rules, the families of those who died in the sex grand competition would be rewarded and compensated, but you won't have the chance this time. Fairy Luo Mei said slowly. But why can't I be rewarded and compensated? Did my father die for nothing? Feng Xiaohai said angrily. Fairy Luo Mei, are you picking on me? The Feng family has always been courteous to you, and we have never offended you. I'm not picking on you, it's the new sect Master Jiang who is picking on you. Fairy Luo Mei said coldly. I've never met this sect Master Jiang, and I've never heard of him. Why is he picking on me? Feng Xiaohai was so frightened that his soul almost left his body. His face was covered in cold sweat as he trembled and frowned. What kind of status was the sect master of the Changshan sect? He could crush him with just a finger. You're so ignorant. This sect Master Jiang's other name is? Fairy Luo Mei said mockingly. Star Butcher. These two words were like two heavy hammers that smashed into Feng Xiaohai's chest, making it difficult for him to breathe. This news was too shocking. Star Butcher was not dead. Not only was he not dead, but he had also killed his father and become the new sect master of the Changshan sect. He was just a despicable Yan Huang tribe member, and his combat power was not at the peak of the Golden Core realm. How could he defeat all the heroes and rise to the top? This news was like a 3-year-old kid defeating boxing champion Mike Tyson and winning the golden belt. It shocked him greatly. His expression changed drastically, and he could not even stand properly. He stumbled back 5 or 6 steps before he could stabilize himself. How is this possible? Fairy Luo Mei, you must be joking. Feng Xiaohai only felt his head buzzing. He felt dizzy, his eyes were about to split open, and he cried out in despair. Of course I'm not joking. Fairy Luo Mei said coldly. Although Feng Xiaohai was an idiot, he knew that a small wind blade city would not be able to stand up to the Changshan sect and face the new sect master head-on. Jiang Tian did not even need to do it himself. He only needed to give an order, and the countries, cities, and sects in the north would tear Wind Blade City to pieces. Feng Xiaohai was scared out of his wits. He immediately knelt down and said sincerely, Fairy Luo Mei, please forgive me. From now on, the grudge between Wind Blade City and the sect master of the Taichu sect is written off. Moreover, we will definitely be loyal to the sect master and work diligently. As he exhaled, a gust of white primordial chi reached hundreds of feet, causing the banana forest to sway from side to side. My son was defeated by Star Butcher this time. Instead, it aroused his courage to improve. It's a blessing. Outside the banana forest, the Empress looked at Prince Mo Yang with joy and exclaimed, He's making rapid progress. In just a few days he's about to break through the second level of the Golden Core realm and gather the strength of 10 divine elephants. The Emperor of Cloud Mist Nation, Mo Luo, had a majestic body. He was strict. On his serious face, there was a trace of gratification that had not been seen for a long time. Prince Mo Yang was originally a talented person. It was just that he had rarely met an opponent before, which had nurtured his arrogant personality. This battle could be considered to have let him know that there was always someone better than him out there. Once I enter the Golden Core realm, I'm immortal. Today, I've awakened the strength of 100 divine elephants and entered the 3rd level of the Golden Core realm. Suddenly, a loud shout was heard. 100 divine elephants appeared behind Prince Mo Yang. They seemed to be able to lift up the sky and trample the mountains and rivers. "Oh Yang, you've broken through. 2 levels in a row." The emperor and his wife exclaimed together. They were overjoyed and quickly walked up to Prince Mo Yang. "The 3rd level of the Golden Core realm is too powerful. I feel like I have endless strength." Prince Mo Yang was handsome and elegant. He clenched his fists and smiled proudly. His eyes were cold as he laughed disdainfully. "That star butcher is indeed talented and powerful. However, if he were in front of me now, I would be able to break his bones with my bare hands." In his opinion, Jiang Tian was only at the 2nd level of the Golden Core realm. The current him was enough to crush him. "That star butcher is too ruthless. He beat my son so badly." The empress was beautiful, but she was ruthless. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She could not help but snort and say disdainfully, "If I don't avenge him, I won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. We won't bully him with the prestige of the royal family. Now that my son is at the 3rd level of the Golden Core realm, he will be trampled to death. I now know that there is always someone better than me. I have to be down to earth in everything I do." Prince Mo Yang nodded. His face was firm and resolute. "This breakthrough is the result of the potential that I have accumulated over the past few years. It is the result of the ultimate sublimation. If I want to break through again, I'm afraid it will take me 100 years of hard work. Father, Mother, I plan to join the outer sanctum of the Changshan sect. I will start as a servant disciple to train myself." He was full of confidence. He stood proudly with his hands behind his back. He looked disdainful and said confidently, "I will stand up from where I lay down. I will find a chance to trample that star butcher under my feet and return the humiliation 100 times over. I will rebuild my firm belief." You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.